Sure. Yeah, it's not dark for all of you. It became shadowy on my end, just as I started streaming. An omen of the good fortune that's to come, no doubt. Welcome back, folks. Today, we're going to attempt to do a stream where we demo the Nyx builds from Nyx Week in Framework, my build series on YouTube where we're going through every single frame. Before we get started, I want to invite you to ask questions if you're watching this as an archive through my Twitch archive parlay segment. This is in chat on Twitch, so if you're watching this as an archive on YouTube, you need to see it as an archive on Twitch to submit through there. But every stream, at the beginning of my streams, I post the link that lets you submit questions, and I answer them during the break in the middle of the next stream. So if you want questions answered that way, that's one of many ways that I offer that. I look forward to them. Anyway, welcome aboard. People who are watching this as an archive. Right now, I'm posting the bootleg build live to my YouTube channel with a comment that says that we're live here on Twitch. So I'm going to be using that, trying to double that as a notification system as well. It's not easy to notify people on YouTube that you're live on Twitch purposefully, because YouTube doesn't want you to do that, really. They don't want to prevent you from doing that outright, but they don't want to make it beneficial for you to do that, you know, because they don't want people to leave their own platform. That's understandable. And so what I've done is tried to finagle the system a bit by using a video, what YouTube wants me to post, as a go live notification for Twitch, something YouTube isn't as excited about me doing, rather than trying to make a community post that inevitably won't do as well, etc. Right? So I hope that works okay. You know, it'll be fine. It's just a matter of how convenient it is. It does mean, I guess one drawback of this is that doing it this way means a lot of you may not have seen the bootleg build video before you watch this stream, which I guess is not ideal. What's not as big a problem about that for me is that there isn't really much like critique or feedback to give on something like the bootleg builds that, you know, they're not meant to be optimized to be good. They're meant to be optimized to be fun, I guess. You know, a lot of them still have some optimization in there in some way. And so I think it's kind of okay if you're missing this when you watch the stream. But, you know, you also, I mean, you have time to just hear this and then go watch that. So it's probably fine. But anyway, we'll keep fiddling around with the format. I'm nothing if not unsure of myself when I choose to do things in a certain way. So anyway, let's welcome some people that may have followed or subscribed while I was offline. Thank you to Phoenix, Magnus, and Viper for the most recent subscriptions. Thank you for supporting my stream, and I hope you enjoy your time in the gun ports of the Zandy vessel. And thank you to all the new follows. Nothelnig, thank you for the follow while I was offline. Welcome aboard. Ronix, Ace, welcome back. Ace, you said, I'm just doing the big brain play of trying to listen to both. That seems challenging. Let me know how that goes. Ace is trying to multi-track Zandy content by watching the bootleg build video and this stream at the same time. Thank you to Russell Stevens for being my most recent patron on Patreon for $1 a month. It really means a lot to me that you're willing to support what I'm doing with your wallet. That is awfully generous of you. And also very generous is Asymptomatic's tip of $53.26. Most tips per period and the most recent tip. Thank you very much for your tireless and generous support. It really means a lot. And yes, Ace, I do think that the Ace sent me a DM that had this. So we've been talking about air fryers on the stream recently, which are basically a stovetop or a countertop convection oven, but they're kind of good because they're small. And we've been talking recently about, it's called an anti-griddle. It freezes things in one direction. The anti-griddle. Flash freeze your way to new terrain. No, I don't think I will. Thank you. Anyway, Ace, I thought that was very funny. Anti-griddle. Get the hell out of here. Cool. So what we'll do today is people probably want to talk about the dev stream a little, which is fine. We'll also focus on demonstrating the Nyx builds in missions. I don't know how well that's going to go for any of them. I'm actually the most excited about the resistance Nyx, because this is, you know, I mentioned in the video, like, this is a pretty well-rounded Nyx build. Like, this is a kind of normal, basically functional Nyx build that also has a really janky, not that functional thing after it kind of takes care of the normal business, you know, which I feel like is fine. Like, should be like, okay, it's not going to be some travesty to try to play. How pleasant is it going to be? You know, I don't know. I didn't mention in the video because it kind of happens on every build. Obviously, Arcane Energize would be good here. I'm not gonna do that. But you could. Yeah, I mean, we'll just go. When you have the bootleg builds, I often really don't complete the loadout. You know, I often don't talk about companions or other weapons as much as in the normal build videos. So we have to pick some basic stuff to sort of get the job done. I sort of feel like I have no idea what companion to use here, so if people have thoughts, I would love to hear them. Definitely normal weapons. One thing that makes sense is this build has Smite Infusion, so a weapon that would benefit from some flat radiation damage would be nice. I mentioned weapons that can maybe kill enemies with upfront damage are a good fit for that. So we could do... what's a weapon like that? You know, sniper rifles, I suppose, but, you know, let's get a little spicy, right? What do we got? Of course, if people have ideas, that's fine too. Trevor, welcome back. Firetender, welcome back. Lithium, welcome back. Lily, welcome back. I hope that your honesty was rewarded, Lily. Did something bad happen? Are you all right? I prefer to call it pseudo-synergy. That is a good word for this loadout. Pseudo-synergistic. But that implies that it kind of is synergistic, which I feel like it isn't. But I'm picking up what you're putting down, sure. Could add radiation to the Rainbow Gris if it was magnetic innately. That would be silly, but... yeah, I don't know. No weapon sticks out to me as something immediately sticks out to me as a weapon that I want to add radiation to. But you could do lots of things. Like, this is a weapon with corrosive. We could just go with that. That's fine. The Baticore, never a bad addition, I don't feel. I found that the Ferox has some interesting interactions with how radiation magnifies certain types of enemy knockback. What's that? Ooh, that sounds kind of interesting. How so? Tell me more. Teach me. I got a lot of Ferox fashion. Oh, well, okay, sure. Team Ferox. Ferox is a thing of beauty. What are we doing? What do you got for me? Yeah, hit me. This is a really old build. I don't recommend doing that. Okay, and then we'll just add corrosive, but I don't really want status corrosive, but I guess whatever. This is what I have space for. This is fine. I don't have to use it in any particular way for this interaction you're mentioning. I'm interested to see. We'll give it a go. Free William, welcome back. People are talking more about the anti-griddle. I'm going to queue into a mission and just pick like whatever companion for now. We'll take the Nautilus. Why not? I'm sure people will talk about that. There's a lot to say about this. So people are talking about the anti-griddle again, that directional freezing thing. I'm going to go... Should we go big or go home? Let's not start with the steel path, because I'll probably make the build look even worse than it's already going to look. Shall we do... but level 34 defense is just too low. Whatever, we can start small, that's fine. People are talking about the anti-griddle again, the directional freezing thing. Anti-griddle is used to make ice cream. Pour milk, ingredients mixture onto it, scrape it into shape, make sure it's all frozen, and put it in a wafer cone. Oh, you mean to make ice cream kind of quickly? I thought the whole thing about ice cream was to limit the size of the ice crystals, so doesn't that... Whoa, what's happening there? Oh, that was the Nautilus pulling enemies together. Let's get a happy customer, shall we? Now the thing is, at this level, they'll just die before you can radiation them, but they shouldn't need the extra damage either. So maybe if we just claim a happy soul for the revolution and then buff their damage a bit, maybe this enemy will do okay damage with a heart pack. I don't know, maybe not. What do you got for me? Come on, show me the money. I guess without radiation it lasts longer, so we'll see about that. Oh. Okay, that was my sentinel. Okay, all right. Acrid. No, Frothy, wait. No. It's actually good. Well, it's the tool to do the job in this loadout. It's definitely not actually good, but it has actual merit. Let's say it that way. Is our minions still running around? Are, but they're in a bad place. Go where enemies are. Okay. Get out of here. Yeah, about the anti-griddle, Ace, you said there's something to be said about cooking techniques otherwise impossible without special tools, but most tools don't cost an arm and a leg. The anti-griddle costs like $1,300. Obviously not sponsored, by the way. I hope it doesn't bear mentioning. Okay, that enemy died way too fast. Nope. Novemberbot, you said, I heard stripping enemy armor before mind control increases the amount of buff you can stack on them. Not because of anything special about removing their armor, but because you will do more damage to them. That's true categorically because that's how the ability works, but it's worth noting that the way that mind control, I talked about this in the video a little, the way that mind control gives enemies more damage is not linear. So as you do damage to them while they're invulnerable, excuse me, they do more damage the more damage you deal to them during this little period right here, but it's not linear. So the more damage you do, the less increased damage you get from them, meaning that at a certain point, doing a ton more damage, doing backflips to do a ton more damage, it just isn't worth it. You just don't really gain much, which is why I personally wouldn't worry about that too much. Certainly, if you're casting psychic bolts a lot anyway, which you know, I suppose you should be, right? Then, you know, you'll get that benefit, which is not a bad thing. Hey, look, G3. The Brack receiver, sure. Yeah, I mean, it'll naturally happen a lot of the time. I'm not sure how much of a difference I feel like that's likely to make. Anyway. But yeah, so... a thought about that, yes, obviously making the enemy more vulnerable to damage will make you do more damage, but that definitely has some diminishing returns that should not be underestimated. Mind control targets notably ignore health, armor types, and viral. There was a thorough Reddit post that got subsumed into the wiki. Wait, Ace, so what you're trying to say is buffing radiation specifically doesn't really do anything for the mind control target? It could be any element? Is that a thing? Is that what you're trying to say? That's not good news. I guess I can edit that out of the video if we can figure out that it's true. Am I understanding that correctly? So obviously at low levels this is fine. Again, there's not much to show when you're at a level like this. We're probably gonna have to enter the path. You can see low range there. I just tried to smite that enemy, but the range is really low, so you'll notice it didn't work at all. Rachel the Ivysaur, thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. I love Ivysaur. How you doing today? What the best Pokemon. My favorite iteration of Ivysaur is in Smash Ultimate, where Ivysaur is just a chonker. I mean, a good, interesting character, sure, but also just like that is such an adorable, chonky Ivysaur. Play Smash Ultimate, be Pokemon Trainer, and be Ivysaur and sprint. What an absolute chonker! Like, such a wonderful Pokemon.
Seem like it's that time of the month again.
Thanks for the Prime sub for 14 months, Fire Tender. Welcome back. It's been wonderful to have you back again for over a year so far. If you can see the spite. Absolute unit. Ivysaur, the little Ivysaur chonker is just adorable. Asus says, Smite Infusion makes the Acrid more consistent, of course, right? You're buffing radiation, and what you want to do with the Acrid is radiation to stack up that damage. But also gets the mind control target to deal with certain green air more consistently. Well, Ace, what I was confused about is you said mind control targets notably ignore health and armor types and viral. So it doesn't help with certain green air, right? You mean damage you deal to a mind control target? Is that what you mean? Oh, yeah, you're just saying while you're damaging the enemy hit by mind control, it doesn't matter what type of damage you do. That's what you're trying to say? Okay, interesting. I was not familiar with such a thing. That's a very, very different conclusion. This is the kind of thing you would never know unless you did a stream where you talked about the build. So, a good thing to keep in mind. Is that, do I understand correctly now? Ragnavar, welcome back. How you doing today? I'm doing okay. It's still hot in my office because the air conditioning still doesn't really seem to be working, but it's a little less bad. I don't know if it's just less hot out today. But yeah, it's my office is not a cozy temperature. Let's try cranking these. Yeah, no, that's definitely not working. Whatever. I will sweat for your entertainment, folks. It's worth it. We can get through it together. Yeah, so again, the conclusion there is that when you mind control an enemy, you're not getting the benefit of, like, it doesn't really matter what type of damage you're doing, I guess. Yeah, I mean, stacking up a bunch of damage is good. It's a way to make it, it's a way to get you more damage, sure. It's just the takeaway here is that doing a huge amount of damage to the enemy you mind control and having them do, like, doing a little bit of damage to them doesn't really provide, like, a meaningfully different result. That's the takeaway. If you do like a bit of damage to your mind control target and then like an insane amount of damage, the difference in the damage the mind control target does after the invulnerability period is a lot less than you'd think because it's non-linear. You get diminishing returns the more damage you do. Anyway, let's just go to the steel path. This will be fine. It'll be fine. Ice cold water. Yeah, no, we should play with the Ferox a bit more. These enemies are so low level it just won't do anything. One frustration I've talked about a lot as we've streamed with testing builds in Warframe is that I definitely get the frustration people have with people testing builds only in the simulacrum because a lot of people don't think about how a real mission would be different. But provided that you do think about how a real mission would be different, it's usually much better to test things in the simulacrum because it's clear. Warframe is a game where it's just not easy. It's not friendly to you like trying your build out and really seeing how it's doing, you know, which isn't always a bad thing. I mean, having it be that the game feels a bit fast and loose about that is fine. I just feel like I don't know. It matters. Oftentimes when we try to take these into missions, it's kind of hard to go into a mission where like doing anything helps rather than just killing all the enemies, you know, which I guess is a good takeaway about Warframe, but it's something you can do. I do think depending on the mission, you have to find the right place for it. But depending on the mission, certainly having an enemy that is able to kill other enemies and is a durable distraction is far from no value, right? So let's, oh wow, okay. That's literally just the Sentinel weapon. Killing these level 120 armored Grineer. Okay, all right. And let's just stack that up, and okay. My Sentinel is killing them so fast, I have to recklessly... Alright, we'll set it up now. So we'll stack them up with the radiation, convert to our cause, and buff them up. Now this enemy is going to have, like, no ability... Ooh, okay, they're jumping. We have a jumper, folks. Let's see what you got. Come on, get him. No, Sentinel, don't leave him alone. Yeah, come on. Forward. No, stop helping. Okay. This is what I mean. You know, it's very difficult to see just that enemy's output. I don't want to not bring a vacuum. I guess I could have brought, like, no Sentinel weapon. Is our ally gonna catch up? Oh, they're coming. See? There they are. Go kill people. Alright, we gotta go back for the data mass. Oh, when I died before, right? Nyx was my favorite back in the day when Void Keys still exist. Looking forward to what you come up with for her. Yeah, I mean, Frothy, just to clarify for people maybe watching this archive or this stream but not having watched the other videos, the bootleg build for Nyx is up, and the other build, like the not completely Mimi build, has already been up. It went up on Thursday. That is the end of the Nyx stuff for now. Obviously, you know, something might come up during this stream. I do think Nyx, like a lot of Warframes, is ultimately like a bit thin. They don't do like a lot of different things depending on how you look at them, which is fine. The first framework that I did, the first run of framework, the little beta version I did a couple of years ago, I resisted the urge to do multiple and restricted myself to just one build for each Warframe. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm kind of starting to wish I had done that this time, but there are good reasons not to. It gives me more room to talk about each Warframe, which I feel like is mostly good, I'll say. Let's stack up radiation and take this Arson Eximus for a ride, shall we? Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. There we go. Was I close enough to buff you? Probably not. There we are. Okay. What do you got, enemy? Come on. Show me your moves. No? Anyway, you can see how difficult it is to see whether it's actually doing anything, right? Now let's focus on saving the objective from destruction. We'll plop down the Ferox. Didn't really bring any, like, serious weapons, so maybe a heavy weapon? No? No heavy weapon? Can you not deploy a heavy weapon while you're like this? No? I can't even get rid of the minimap. There, okay. Somehow it worked. Nyx, you're bugging me out. We'll just defend normally. Again, the great thing here is it is a borderline functional build anyway, so that's nice. And our Lich came at the right time, I suppose. Oh, smooth like butter. There we go. Locked in. So as you can see, and as I didn't try to hide during the video, it's not exactly, you know, you're kind of better off just fighting than converting that one enemy. Although a lot of this changes if you're in a squad. I think, again, this is another example of, you know, when you're in a Steel Path mission is when it's hard enough to warrant doing something special to the enemies. You also often don't have allies with you, which makes the dynamics of a mission really different. This is a really good example of why I find gameplay examples frustrating, because you kind of can't, after hours and hours of gameplay, you can eventually demonstrate the build doing its thing, but it's just not, you know, again, the initial iterations of Framework, where I tried to show in-game examples, I would make the, like, 90% of the video in, you know, 30 minutes. And then I would spend like 5 hours trying to get examples of the thing that I could show in the simulacrum easily happening in a mission. And it's not necessarily because the thing is not actually good in missions. It's because it's hard to demonstrate things in missions, you know, which I am frustrated by as a creator. I don't really think it's a problem for you as a player most of the time, but again, it requires just thinking critically about, you know, what are the consequences of doing this in a mission. I do think trying it a little bit to show those consequences, that is fine. But the build not looking perfect in a mission and then getting people saying, oh, you can't, it doesn't actually work in a mission. Well, not necessarily. You could say a lot of things don't work in a mission. I think the takeaway is how messy missions in Warframe are. And Warframe is also in a very information-dense game. That's a good point, Lily. Such that it can just be hard for even an experienced player to see what's going on, you know, from an outside perspective. That's something to think about. I wanted to catch back up on chat a little bit. I do want to try to successfully demonstrate this in a mission, but we should probably spend a little more time playing the one that's actually supposed to be more functional. So here we have the from the stacked Nyx video. That video was really sort of a mindset demonstration, but the build that I ended on was this version. I'll talk about some of the problems with this version. We'll try to squeeze in adaptation somewhere for another layer of damage reduction and then give it a go. But yeah, it might not be that great, as many of these are not going to be that great. We'll talk about that shortly. I just wanted to catch up on chat a little bit. We'll talk about that Ferox radiation thing. I didn't really understand where people were going with that, but we'll give it a go against higher level targets. Lithium, you said, how are your relationships with other Warframe YouTubers? Do you ever check out what the smaller YouTubers are currently doing? I am one of the smaller YouTubers. I will be direct with you, Lithium. I don't enjoy most other Warframe videos. I just don't think they offer much. To be honest, I don't only personally not enjoy them. I think a lot of Warframe content in general is unproductive. It doesn't really do much. A lot of it is news stuff. And a lot of what's going on there is that Warframe is a game that has a lot of news that is fluff. A lot of news that you don't need to know. It will change in a week. It's not really useful to know. But for people following along with it, people playing along, it can feel, it's like what's happening, you know? And so people have a tendency, a compulsion, I might say, to watch it. Now, if you enjoy following along with that, that's fine. I'm just trying to say, I don't think there's objectively much value delivered there. You could not watch that news stuff and just wait a week after an update comes out, and you're not really losing anything. In fact, from now on, that is what I'm going to be doing. Warframe updates are by and large so inconsistently not buggy when they launch that I would much rather just play the update less that week that it comes out and more the week after, so that we're talking about the finished version of the update. I feel like most other Warframe content on the internet is about unfinished versions of things, or things that we're not sure are going to stay that way. Exploits or interactions that, for all we know, are not intended or are not going to keep working. They're just kind of about it's very clickbait focused. That's how I feel. That's okay. It's okay that people enjoy that stuff, but I don't. I don't think it adds much. I think it's fluffy. I'm sorry, that's very critical. I don't hate the other Warframe creators at all. In fact, I support them being members of the community of a game that I enjoy. I just personally don't think, I don't recommend many of them, because I don't think you're going to gain much. I don't think you're going to have more fun for watching most of them. That's how I feel. That being said, my friend Joey, who we've talked about many times on this channel, who I've rated a lot of times, who's streamed with me at times, who's made a few videos with me in times, who made the intro for Driftframe, which I know a lot of you are familiar with, does often put out things that are think pieces or discussion or build videos of a sort that I think are helpful. That's somebody I'd recommend. Frothy here in chat has made a few Warframe videos, not as many as I wish you have, that I liked. I think you present the information in a way that is helpful and helps the audience member have fun with the thing that you're describing, which is great. It's not always perfect, and I totally respect as a creator that you might be uncomfortable with that imperfection, like you're talking about with your Railjack video. I totally understand that frustration. And Frothy, you just said in chat, I want to do something more time impervious, because my previous video was very weak to DE changing balance about Railjack. Frothy made a long video that I really liked about new Railjack retrofit. Yeah, I mean, it was imperfect. It was time bounded, right? But I think it was a good attempt at describing, you know, this is a way that you can look at the whole and think through it. And I like that. I think that's nice. That's helpful. So I recommend that. And Zelp doesn't talk about Warframe stuff anymore, but still has a lot of Warframe videos that are helpful discussions of how does the thing work, right? So that's someone. Name of why am I forgetting your name? Person that I've met more recently in person, Sapmatic. Sapmatic also has a lot of videos that I think are functional, will actually make you have more fun playing Warframe. Many different recommendations for many different ways to do the same thing, simply because you might enjoy them. So Sapmatic is another creator I'd recommend. I'm not saying I hate everybody else or that they're all bad or something. I'm not saying that at all. It's just, if you're asking, those are some people I enjoy, and that's why I don't like most other Warframe videos. I know a lot of people enjoy them. You're not wrong for enjoying them. That's just how I feel. XYT4C. Zidak? Thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. How you doing today? Tell me how you want me to say it. Dirty Blue Dream. Ooh, very spicy. Welcome aboard. Oh, nice I caught the next stream live. Welcome aboard. Glad to hear from you. Dirty Blue Dream, you said, yeah, the new big exploit, play it fast before it gets patch content, isn't exciting to me. I mean, I just think it's a little irresponsible, because you're encouraging uninformed players to invest in a thing that you, the creator, know is probably not going to remain in the game for that long, which I think is kind of not the most savory. I don't know. It's just irresponsible. It's not hateful. It's not like morally reprehensible, but it's not very responsible. It's not something you make thinking about your audience. It's something you make thinking about the amount of views you're going to get, right? That's all I'm trying to say. It's Sidic. Think like a psychic tic-tac. Psydac. A psychic tic-tac. Psydac? Like that? Cool, okay. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Thanks for the follow. I'm just picking weapons. We don't need the accurate if we're going to do... Oh, we can keep playing the mind control loadout for a little bit longer. That's fine. That's fine. Let's do that. I'm going to bring... We'll talk about the radiation thing, so we'll still bring the Ferox, and then I'll bring a basic functional melee weapon. What's on my Cronin? Sure. Not what I might straightforwardly recommend, but... it's fine. I knew this is a burst combo build, and I'm not sure. Let's just take off the Verglis because this is doing so much damage that you kind of can't see what's going on. So yeah, we'll queue up the Steel Path. We'll go into what's a Steel Path mission a lot of people are in. Oh, Hydron, there'll be people here, right? This will be populated. No, really? Helene, maybe? No. I'm determined to find a Steel Path mission where we can do this thing and watch our new recruit try to kill Steel Path Grenier. That's what I want, and then I'll be satisfied, and then we will move on. That's Steel Path alerts. I don't know why I was avoiding that for so long. That's exactly what we should do. Yes. Incredible. Yeah, I don't know, Lily. I mean, I've done Steel Path Hydron, and you can absolutely have work in progress gear do enough damage. I just think I think what you're right about is you said Steel Path Hydron isn't populated because you're leveling up work in progress gear, meaning it's not strong enough. Well, it is, but I think people think that, and that's why they don't go there. Sure. You can absolutely do Steel Path Hydron with good weapons that are not fully modded out and get the job done, but I'm sure a lot of people think that, and indeed, I guess is more demanding of what weapons you have, right? That's a very good insight. That's probably why. It's probably an okay focus farm, yeah, sure. Let's do Steel Path Alerts, which are here. Steel Path Incursions, they're now called. Yes. But it's not. Sabotage. This is not perfect, but whatever. We'll see. Might be okay. If it's a mobile mission, this is not going to be useful. Catching back up a bit. I like that Nyx looks like a comic book superhero, but also has a sexy thong. I'm not sure I like that, but I find it amusing. Sure. Omega Zero, thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. How you doing? Oh. Almost jumped the shark there a bit. Let's come out. Let me stack radiation on you. Welcome to the cause. No, stop that. No, nobody wants that. No. I think this is the version that has Rest and Rage on it. Oh boy. What build are we showcasing right now? I think the Arsenal went rogue and swapped me to the other version of the mind control Nyx. The version that I don't personally like that much. Yeah, no, it was the other one. That was Stack Nyx for a sec. I wanted to get the mind control thing to work, show an example of resistance Nyx before we move on. But yeah, I yucked it up. Let's try to not yuck it up. Let's just try it in a defense, and then if that doesn't work, we can go into a Grenier mobile defense. Again, it'll be, I guess, easier to demonstrate because we have a defense mission, but it won't mean as much because they're Corpus enemies. But what are you gonna do? Do mind control minions trigger alerts in spy missions? That's a good question that I do not know the answer to. What do we got? What do you got for me? Oh, just this defense that is here. Okay, right. Yeah, Pixel, I guess that's the problem. I mean, when you have a build like this, when you have a build like this that requires the enemies to be kind of durable, that's one of the hugest problems, and a good reason to demonstrate a little bit of this strategy is it's a good example of why it can matter that Warframe is often just not very difficult in its current state, because it's hard to get things to work if enemies die this fast. Things that would be good just won't happen. It's not that they're bad if they could happen, but they just won't occur because enemies will die so fast it won't end up like functionally mattering, right? There's our mind control target. Again, it's very difficult to see what damage they're doing, but setting it up is not hard. The question is, like, does it really benefit you that much, right? And do you want to trouble yourself by moving around and assimilate? Which personally, I think is sort of an interesting exercise. Not sure I want to do it for my leisure, but it's interesting when I spend the time to do it. I think our mind control target probably wore off by now. Scary Ninja, welcome back. How you doing? Earlier I wanted to respond to something. I saw... Where was it? Fake Doctor. You said, I kind of hate the signal to noise ratio on gaming videos that you feel has gone down so much. Interesting. It was inevitable, but still sort of sucks. Makes it so when a game comes out, the channels with the laziest content immediately float to the top of the algorithm, and it's hard to learn much about them. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to me that you say that you feel like that's gotten worse. I'm not sure if I think it's gotten worse. I think it's always been bad. That's how I feel. Is that it was bad to begin with. I'm not sure what I think about it having gotten worse. Maybe it has. The thing I feel, I guess, is that it creates room for these sort of game tourism channels to come in later after the game is understandable and understood, and talk about them in like maybe a more interesting way. It's certainly a more interesting way to me. Where once the sort of clickbaity, bad type content has gone away, which I think is interesting. I'm not sure whether I think that's a good or a bad thing. It's a little of both, you know. Yeah, that's interesting. The way I view it, I guess, what I'm trying to say is that I kind of feel like it's a case where you get the content in multiple stages. When a new game comes out, it's not all about information about that game. It's usually that sort of clickbaity thing, and then it's about the game rather than those things being at the same time, which in a way I think is sort of interestingly not bad, because it means you can kind of safely assure yourself that you can wait until that has passed and then just get what you're looking for. People talking about it right when it comes out. At this point, that's kind of genre ignorant. If you've been playing video games lately and you focus on a game right when it comes out, you are not paying attention. And now that's a lot clearer, which is bad that that's true, but good that it's clear. I don't know. And so, for example, I'm going to talk about Hades more this summer. I'm hopefully going to make some videos about Hades on my channel this summer and start showing you me covering games other than Warframe for their buildcraft. Alongside really continuing to go through all of Framework. There'll be a lot more Framework to go. Talking about Warframe's buildcraft stuff. And I'm really looking forward to talking about Hades when all of the people who kind of bandwagoned to make stuff about Hades, just like every other game, are kind of done or gone, you know. Personally, I'm looking forward to that, but it is a bad thing in some ways. I definitely understand the frustration, don't get me wrong. I didn't get that much radiation there. That's fine. We'll see what this one does. Go forth. Show me your power. Shoot someone. These? Yeah, no, don't hide behind cover. Okay. Anyway. I think we've shown as much of the mind control build as makes sense. Who knows? Somebody said, have you tried moving around with Reeve in Assimilate? I haven't personally done that. I'm sure it's a great option. I guess I feel that when I put helmet abilities in Warframes, I try not to do anything I feel is redundant. And I feel like you can already move around freely using operator void dashes in Assimilate. It just feels awkward. I'm not sure. I think Reeve would feel less awkward. I can definitely see someone liking that. It's worth mentioning. That's why I didn't demonstrate it. It's a good idea. It's just not something that excites me that much. Maybe Vile Rush could be kind of fun. That's an option that comes to mind too. Would also, you know, Vile Rush is a fine ability as well. Would also not cost energy, and I feel like it having a cooldown, when you infuse Vile Rush on a different Warframe, it still has a cooldown, which is a little unexpected. Maybe that's not intended, I don't know. But yeah, anyway. So that's an option if you're interested. Vile Rush scales with range. That's an interesting option, that's true. What's it called? Reeve is duration based, right? You go further based on duration. That might be a better fit depending on what kind of build you're making. Or it might be a worse fit. That's an interesting point. Lily, you said, don't forget to load up your thralls with damage after mind controlling them. Well, the Acrid does a lot of damage over time. That's why I'm not focusing on doing that too much. It already is loading them up with damage over time, or it should be anyway. That's why I wasn't focusing on doing that. You should, and you can see me in the video about the Resistance Nyx, this build. You can see me loading them up. That's why I'm not focusing too much on doing it, because they are already taking some damage. I do have another gun. Again, that's the reason I explained just now is why. I'm not saying you shouldn't shoot them. It's just you will get some damage even if you don't, because of the Acrid, as far as I'm aware anyway. Cover-seeking behavior is one of the many obstacles to mind control. That's true. It is a problem that enemies seek cover while being virtually invulnerable to the attacks of their fellows. That is definitely a roadblock for this strategy. Again, there are a lot of roadblocks to this strategy, but that's certainly one of them. That wasn't that much radiation. Why is that an invalid target? Okay. Welcome to playing this build in a real mission. Come in, stay a while. Uncle Nene, welcome aboard. How you doing? Still catching up a little. Firetender, you told me a little while back that you were getting a ramp up in responsibility at your work, so I hope that it goes well. If I'm understanding correctly what you're saying. Krolf Behegul? Is that a good way to pronounce that? That might have been janky. Thanks for the follow, welcome aboard. Feel free to edit my pronunciation. Arkhammer, welcome back. It's been a little bit. Welcome back, Arkhammer. Is there an Nyx build you'd recommend to as the go-to, or are all of her builds meme-tastic? This is the bootleg build, which I named the Resistance Nyx. One reason I make the fashion such a point for each of the builds, the idea is supposed to be that the builds are helpfully different in appearance, so you can see at a glance, without needing to know what mods I have on. Oh, this is that build because it has this fashion, right? I'll always try my best to switch the fashion so it lines up with the build, so you can tell at a glance that this is, you know, this or that build, because it has the corresponding fashion is the idea. But I mean, I haven't said that, so thank you for asking. Yeah, one thing I was mentioning earlier is that originally when I made when I started making framework, let's try this this corrupted. Their nullifier aura made the mind control wear off. That's interesting. I thought it would make the nullifier aura allied, but it didn't. Anyway, interesting. Good to know. Don't try to mind control nullifiers, I guess. One thing I mentioned about the way I used to make framework builds was to limit myself to one build for each frame, right? And in this iteration of framework, I haven't done that. And there's some good things about that and some bad things about that. One of the good things about it is that it leaves room to talk about a frame in different contexts. One of the bad things about it is it makes it less clear when a Warframe has like very little build diversity, as I feel like is the case with Nyx. I do not think it makes more sense than on any other Warframe to make more than one build for Nyx. I feel like you can fit in everything Nyx is good at on one build. If I had to say, I feel like this is probably that build. I feel like you largely get the basic functionality of Nyx with this janky build, and you also get that jank, right? Stacked Nix, the video that was not the janky build, not the bootleg build, was a video about the mindset behind building what I would call like a legitimate Nix build. This iteration of Framework does not have a structure where I show you like what I think is the go-to build, if there is one, or some go-to builds, if there are a few, and then a janky build. It doesn't really do that, which is a drawback. Really what this version of Framework is doing is trying to talk about everything I feel like is worth talking about as a whole, and then from those pieces, you can put together like a single go-to build. Sorry for hitting my mic. And I feel like in this case, this loadout does that. Overall, it adds, you know, if you just ignore the mind freak thing, the mind control thing, you have a build that does psychic bolts is easy to build for, but it's doing that. It's got high efficiency too, so it's cheap. You have the, compact survivability, and then instead of chaos, now you have another damage boost that works well with psychic bolts. That's not a bad approach. I might consider putting Smite or Smite Infusion if you want it on mind control, if you weren't going for the meme as well. But you can fit in both on the same build, the stacked Nix build doesn't have, like, I don't think Pool of Life is more valuable than Smite Infusion in practice. The point is this build came from a discussion about how I would recommend thinking about building Nix. I don't really recommend this or any particular build I showed in that video. That is not a thing Framework is currently doing. It's not saying, hey, use this specific build. It's trying to help you arrive at a build that you like. That being said, I do think it's valuable after doing that to come away from the process and say, here's what I think you should actually do, with the Warframe. And maybe we should do that in these streams. What do you think? Is that something people wanted? We could set aside this time to talk about that. And not to say, this is the best build that you must use, but just to say, let's synthesize all the stuff from the videos over the course of the week and make a build that like I want, or, I can just talk about, here's what I'm going to do with that information. Because for a lot of Warframes, probably most Warframes, I suspect there will only be one build I actually recommend personally, or that like I like personally, which I don't think is bad. I don't want to give you the impression that Framework is aiming to show you like a completely different build each time. It's trying to discuss the frame in an interesting way each time, not necessarily show you a completely different thing. In Nix's case, what largely happened is that if you want like a video that says, here's a good build and here's a meme build, they're kind of the same. So what happened is I talk about, here is the only build I think is any good in general, or the only approach to a build I think is any good, in the mindset of making it good. And then here's that build in the mindset of making it like silly or fun, which I guess is the same thing. I don't know. And so ultimately, I just want to say, if you feel like builds are similar in between them, Frost Week felt like that a little. That's why. Because I think a lot of Warframes, there just isn't that much build diversity. And again, when you say build diversity, I think it's really important to keep in mind that you can look at a build like this and say, or any of these builds, and say, oh, but you could make that in so many different ways. Yes, but making a version of this build where you survive using health instead of assimilate, but otherwise everything is the same, is not a different build. That's just customizing it for yourself. I'm not saying that's bad, that's great. I'm just saying it's not like you make a build that you make a whole video that is exactly this thing, except you survive with health. Like that's not worth mentioning. It's not worth mentioning in a whole separate video, right? In the Resistance Nix video, in the bootleg build, which was this, I also showed this, which is a rather different, like a meaningfully different retrofit of that playstyle, where I didn't get rid of chaos and I'm surviving using health instead, and I changed some stuff, a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that's not worth showing. I'm saying like it's the same video. It's part of the same video. It's not a different topic, you know. It's just a variant, you know. And this is a pretty significant variant. I mean, it's fairly different. You have a bunch of range instead. So I don't know. Anyway, those are some thoughts. Megatron, welcome back. How you doing? What's going on? Welcome aboard. Lily, you said, is there any particular reason you don't include arcanes in these discussions? I do. I just only include things that I feel like are necessary or core to the loadout. For example, you could put Arcane Energize on virtually every loadout I'll ever show, and it will improve them. But that's stupid because you could just do it every single time. What you should, that's a phenomenal question, because something that I always need to remind people of is that I'm planning to do an intro video to Framework as a series where I talk about everything that kind of doesn't change between loadouts. I talk about gear wheel items. There's no opportunity cost to these. You can just equip all of them. So talking about which ones I feel like are good to have on hand and what they cause you to do differently in a mission is kind of noteworthy. So for example, the fact that specters exist, like that you could just have a bunch of specters all the time, there's no opportunity cost for having a bunch of specters. You could just have a bunch of specters, means that having an additional enemy as like a decoy target is not that valuable in context. You can already have a lot of those all the time for no cost, right? So for example, on Atlas, Atlas's rumblers, that ability can be good for lots of things, but the rumblers themselves, they don't do great damage a lot of the time. So the main benefit would be that they distract enemies from shooting at you or the objective, and instead enemies will shoot the target, you know. Sure, your rumblers, the other targets. That was what I was trying to say. But in context, that's not really that valuable, because you could, if you wanted that, already have like 5, 8 random specters running around as well. And so adding 2 more is like, it's not no benefit, but it's hardly this major thing that you'd want to build around. That's how I feel. And so there's going to be a video where I talk about that, gear items. I'm going to talk about K-drives. There's surprisingly some stuff to say about K-drives. I'm going to talk about Necromechs. I'm going to talk about Archwing a little. I'm going to talk about heavy weapons a little. Sometimes that'll come up in individual videos. I'm going to talk about Focus a little. Sometimes that'll come up in individual videos. I'm going to talk about operator stuff. Very rarely that will come up in individual videos. I'm not going to talk about frames, weapons, and companions, because those will change depending on the video. But one thing I am going to mention in that video as well is stuff that is kind of good on any loadout. So for example, I'm not going to say Arcane Energize every single time a loadout warrants Arcane Energize, because you probably don't have a fully ranked Arcane Energize, and it's good virtually every single time you make a loadout, right? So I mean, why don't we just save our breath? I'll save you 5 seconds in every video I ever make forever, and just not say it in there, and instead say it in. That's how I think of it. It's true that makes the videos weaker as a standalone offering. I just think it's worth it, personally. If you disagree, feel free to argue with me. That's fine. But that's why I'm doing it that way. You know, also other things, like occasionally I did touch on Vigorous Swap occasionally being better than usual in a certain situation. Or sometimes it's important to get people to understand, you know, what is the opportunity cost of these mod slots? Why does saving mod slots benefit you? A lot of people don't understand about Nyx that one of her strengths is how easy it is to get the abilities to do what they're doing, you know? Nyx does the value out of Psychic Bolts and then Chaos, and, you know, you can do the thing with Assimilate if you want. But the key takeaway with Nyx is that a lot of other Warframes do those things and do some of them a lot better, or do other things as well. But Nyx does them for so little. You don't need to do much to put them on there. That isn't a benefit until you talk about what you could be putting in those mod slots instead of other mods, right? And that is a thing. And so I feel like that's worth mentioning. Anyway, catching up on a few things. You've unlocked crew members in missions, right? Do they just fit in your gear wheel? I don't know. I do have that unlocked, I believe. I don't know where you... Is my gear wheel just full? I don't know where you equip that. I don't know how you do that. If anybody does, I would love to hear about it. That intrinsic, here, I'll show people what it is. Some people might not I've heard of it. Or know what we're talking about is what I mean. In the command intrinsic, there's a benefit at the bottom. Oh, I don't have this yet. Can we get it? Oh, it's way too much. No, I don't have it yet. I don't know how this works. I'm interested. Is it a gear item? Oh, it is on your gear wheel. Okay, that's where you use it. A lot of people were asking, where does this show up? I think this is a cool idea. Especially a good benefit of this would be the crew members can use your weapons modded. They get to use modded weapons. That's unusual, and so 10-minute cooldown, 3-minute uptime. That's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that, but I don't have it yet. Catching up a little. Cytic, you said, I personally feel console has substantially more opportunity costs due to the limitations of the controller. Like certain gear slots are a lot more valuable because they occupy the cardinal directions and are much easier to access. I guess so. I mean, it's funny you say that because I have a couple of my slots on my gear wheel bound to keys. You can see my Arcwing launcher is on V, my K drive is on C, and my arc gun is on B. So these have more value to me as well. Most of these items, you don't really care that much if they take a second to deploy. I don't personally feel like that's a huge deal. I think it's kind of the same on PC. You know, there are some items where you want to be able to do it quickly, and so you wouldn't want to just put anything there, you know? But I feel like that's not a huge issue. Like a lot of the like specters and stuff, you don't need to deploy at the snap of a finger. It's okay if they're kind of buried in the gear wheel. Personally, I don't think that changes the opportunity cost much. I think the same issue is the case on PC. Maybe when something isn't on a hotkey on PC, it's like easier to access. Sure, but there are still way too many gear items that could be worth using from time to time to macro all of them realistically. But it's fine because a lot of them you don't need to deploy. Like really, you don't care if it takes 5 seconds to deploy them. That's what I meant. So that's how I feel. But it's a good point. Cuber, you said, do specters not use modded weapons? Correct. When you make a Tenno Spectre, they don't get to use mods on your weapons, which is worthy of note. A lot of the time, Spectre buildcraft for Tenno Spectres that you make in the Foundry is more focused on what weapon can they use that does something even though it doesn't have any mods on it. Whereas for your crew members in Railjack, they get all your mods, so pumping out damage with them can be kind of more valuable. Anyway, we played the janky build for a little bit. Let's at least play this version of stacked Nyx that I talked about a little bit. I said before, I'm definitely interested in fitting adaptation in here somewhere. So let's do that. I don't think it'll be the end of the world. We'll just sacrifice, realistically, I think some range is the way to go. By the way, a few people have apologized of all things for not having seen the bootleg build. Folks, it's not your fault. I put it up when I went live. It's okay. It's intended to be a sort of a go live notification, then you can watch it and stop in when you're ready, or see this as an archive afterward. If people don't like that, we can talk about doing it differently, though. It's just something I thought would be an elegant solution. Again, it creates a notification and the video at the same time. Where are we going to go to try to do this thing? We have the problem of, you know, there aren't going to be any other players, so the build is going to be under more stress than it would otherwise be. Although, I suppose it's kind of fine in the sense that we have chaos now. Yeah, it's probably fine. Let's give it a go. How bad can it be, right? Maybe exterminate. Sure. Oh, I didn't change weapons, though, did I? By the way, people talked about that radiation thing on the Ferox. I really didn't. I have no idea what you meant about that. When we were buffing, radiation, people mentioned that the Ferox would do a thing with that, with its tether thing. I really don't understand what you meant. I didn't mean to not show that. I just don't. What were you thinking it would do? We can go back and play with that later if you like. I'll just bring something else. My beloved Moodmores. For a little while. We'll swap over to the appropriate fashion. And we don't need the Acrid anymore. I would sure rather not be on the Acrid anymore. And bring a heavy boy. Glorious. Rusty, I'm always going to try to show you which build we're on by picking the fashion for the build. So if you see the fashion for a build you're familiar with, that's what build it is. Of course, sometimes I'll mess up, which will be disastrous. I'll have to commit to leaving a mission if I mess that up so that it consistently gives you the information. But the fashion should match up with the build, so you'll know which build based on what fashion I have. Welcome back. How you doing? The Acrid could be good with Well of Life. You could get the lifesteal from the Toxin for a long time without range restrictions. That's a good idea. Stacking up damage over time, using Well of Life to get sustained healing. Not a bad idea. Not a thing this loadout set out to do, but that doesn't make it a bad idea at all. So again, here, one thing we're doing is we ideally, okay, need to kill an enemy to get some health conversion stacks to get us started. Otherwise, we're going to be very vulnerable. So Chaos, really slow cast times are a struggle. And then we need to kill this enemy. Knowing when they're dead enough is also like some finesse with using this loadout. Getting some weapon that does absurd overkill damage is actually arguably kind of good here. You're seeing the Nautilus pulling enemies around a lot here, which is nice. So now we should be a lot more stable. We have some initial armor, so when enemies shoot us, we're not going to die to a stiff breeze while we build up adaptation, and then that should kick in. Are there only 2 Nyx builds this week? Yep. If the bootleg build comes out, that's always the last one. So, and a lot of the time there will be only 2 builds. For many Warframes, I feel like it's a stretch to even have 2 builds, and a lot of the time it's framing a similar build in the context of being silly or more serious. I'm not saying that's not fun. I enjoy it, but I would say there aren't even 2 builds for a lot of Warframes. Okay, that feels okay in terms of getting the getting your little survival package of energy and health. Oh, nice. Okay, I really want what's it called? Cast speed, natural talents would feel really good on this loadout. That would be nice. Again, not necessarily the weapons I would have brought here. I think this is corrosive and we're removing enemy armor anyway, so that's not ideal. But what are you gonna do? Where? Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely don't want to bring the Nautilus here either, because it makes it really difficult to know where the enemy you did the thing on is from. Yeah, I also hope that the thumbnails are helping. I know it's confusing because I haven't been doing things this way for a long time, but hopefully the sun thumbnail is a tutorial, the ocean thumbnails are framework builds, and then the moon thumbnail is a bootleg build. Hopefully that will make sense to people after a while. Anyway, we've demonstrated what there is to demonstrate about this. Catching back up quite a bit. I saw someone come in and say something really nice that I wanted to catch up on. We had a lurker saying, Rachel, yes, the Ivysaur from before. Welcome back. I'm sorry if I missed you. I hope you're still around. I've been a watcher lurker of your videos for a couple of years now. I appreciate your insight on builds and loadouts as a whole, even if I end up disagreeing, which is exactly what I'm hoping for. The Trinity Orb Explosion build was one of my favorites that sadly no longer works due to Well of Life's change. Yeah, there are a lot of builds like that. One of the things that frustrates me the most about Warframe, and in fact something I've realized about builds in general, talking about buildcraft in general, is that when you have a game that changes, even just an ongoing game in general, but especially a game like Warframe that changes radically frequently, is that talking about builds is a lot less valuable, specific builds, because they're so likely to get, it's so unlikely that over like 2 years or whatever, the build won't just stop working somehow, which is frustrating. And I'm really looking forward to talking about builds in games like Hades, where things are not going to change, and that build really is pretty static, and in builds in games like Genshin Impact, where things change, but they're probably going to mostly add things rather than change. Like, they're not going to edit the things that are there that much. It is also a factor of, you know, it's no secret on this stream that I am quite critical of Digital Extreme's balancing capabilities. It's just really inconsistent. And what happens when your balance is not consistently good to start out with is that you need to nerf and buff things a lot. There's a video that I mention frequently when I stream. This Core Gaming is a channel. I'm not affiliated there. It's a nice channel. They have a video called Why Buffing is Better Than Nerfing. And that video makes perfect sense, but it relies on the supposition that the balance is good to begin with. Like, pretty good, and then it needs to get the rest of the way there with buffs rather than nerfs. True, but if the balance is not already good, then you do often need to nerf things to get it to make sense vaguely, and then you can go from there. The benefit of a game like Genshin Impact is it's an ongoing game in the way Warframe is, but the balancing is so good out of the box most of the time that you can rely on things that are not obviously unusually poorly balanced being good. So you can safely invest in a build, and it's not just going to be bad in a few years. Whereas in Warframe, the worst thing about making builds in Warframe is how frequently they just get temporally crept, not power crept, but the game moves on from them. That's what I'm trying to say. Just to be clear about the Ferox thing, obviously the Ferox tether mode is good at inflicting status. What I was asking was, people were saying there was some kind of special interaction between buffing radiation on the Ferox and tethering enemies with it. So using it with this loadout, with the Resistance Nyx loadout, and buffing it with Smite Infusion would be more good than it would normally be, and I didn't understand what would be particularly good about that that's different from just like it's always kind of good. The Ferox is good, the tether mode can apply status, it does good damage when you shoot it, you know, it's good, right? I was just confused because it sounded like people were saying there was some kind of unique particular interaction, not just like it's obviously like fairly good with this weapon, just like a lot of things are. Building this weapon for the tether mode and having it do status output can be pretty okay. When gas was not horribly unusable status effect, this actually did pretty good damage over time as well. But it doesn't anymore. I just haven't changed it because the game's balance is such a mess right now. I can't be bothered to change hundreds of builds that should work well. The game would be better off if they did work well, but they don't currently work well. That's just silly. But anyway, shall we to space? That could be a fun situation to play these slowdowns in. It'll probably be kind of a mess, but there's nothing wrong with that. Infuse Banish on Nyx's... No, not on Nyx's 2. On a 3 or 4, certainly. Anyway, and then you could mind control and banish them for ultimate confusion. Sure, I guess. Catching up a bit more, not Nyx related, that's fine. But do you think as they add more companion mods, the 10 mod slots will still be enough? That's a great question. Yes, I think you have the wrong idea about mod slots. Having a lot of mod slots is not good. Having mod slots be restrictive is only making the game better. If you want build diversity, if you want choices in a build, then having more mods or less mod slots is good because it restricts the amount of space. A lot of people talk about build diversity and they do this funny thing where they say, we always use the same mods. Because there are so many mandatory mods, we don't have room for any mods that we choose. So we need more mod slots. But that doesn't really make sense because then the mandatory mods are even more mandatory and you just have to pointlessly level up the weapon and format a bunch of times to put on mods you'll never change the choice of, and you even more won't choose something different because you have even more space, and then you'll put in the thing you want. No, what you want is less mod slots, which they won't do because people format them. So you want more mods competing for those mod slots, meaning that the mandatory mods become unmandatory, and then you can just use the utility you want in these mod slots because it will hopefully be buffed to the point where it's competitive. You can't always buff things. We talked about that before. Some of the time, I think the problem in Warframe is that an effect that is being sold as something you might want will never be strong enough. No matter how much you buff it, it's just not going to be better. Right now, for example, there's a thing happening where corrosive can't really be fair but good and be better than viral. It's just not really possible. You could make corrosive remove all armor with 1 stack, and then it would probably be better than viral some of the time. But even then, viral is so good compared to corrosive against the enemies corrosive is supposed to be good against, and then it's good against everything else. Viral is just a dominant, making something that doesn't have conditional effectiveness and then making that thing the most effective doesn't work. You have to nerf that thing. Again, this is what I mean when I say you can only buff if the balance starts out good, but if you make a status effect that is good all the time, and then you make it so strong that it's better than everything else most of the time, you can't just buff everything else. Like, you've made something that is a generalist choice, and then the player doesn't pay power for getting that. It's a stronger choice, and it's good more often. You can't do that, which is why it makes sense to nerf viral. People say it's a power fantasy game, you shouldn't whatever. That's reductive and doesn't make sense. That's why it makes sense to nerf viral or what have you. Let's go with this. I will bring the Verglis. So yeah, I don't know. That's some thoughts. I'll see you later, Firetender. Thanks for watching a little. I saw you say you're going to lurk for a little bit. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought on the companion thing. Right. So in that frame, when you say as we get more companion mods, will the number of mod slots become a problem? No, it'll get even better. At the moment, you can fit every good companion mod on most companion builds. You don't have to make any choices. You just pick all of the good mods and nothing else, and then you're done. On this build, for example, I'm not lacking anything I want. Like, I can just have everything that is good. There are a few mods, not very many, but a few, that do something okay, sometimes okay, that I can't fit, but it's just not much of a loss. Like, these are not even close to competing for one of these slots, except this if you're not playing Railjack, I guess. Which makes it a little silly to even have a modding system, because these are just the default things, kind of. Give or take a few mods, your build might be a little different than this on this or that Sentinel or Companion. The point is you have enough space for everything good and then some, right? There's even a few things in here that are these are not often that great. They're a bit fluffy, right? Not that that's bad, it's just not amazing, right? In fact, realistically, maybe that. When we get more companion mods, that puts pressure on these slots, so you actually make a choice between them. And it means that there are a lot of good options. So you, a player that doesn't want choices, you, a player that wants a single good, obvious build, you can enjoy yourself too, because there are more options that are just good, rather than it being like you need a pretty particular set of mods. If you don't have these specific 10 mods, then you're losing a good amount of power on the thing. The more good mods there are, the easier it is to make a build with 10 good mods, right? So it's good for people that don't want to think about buildcraft, and good for people who do want to think about buildcraft. Same thing with making viral weaker. People who want a generalist effect still get one that is still generally superior to other options. People who want to make a deliberate choice have the ability to make a deliberate choice that is stronger, because viral won't always be this dominant thing. That's what I think. Does that make sense? Whoever was asking about the companion thing, does that help? Is that interesting? That's how I would think of it. I feel like a lot of people, I've heard many people talking about Warframe recently and in the past, and upset about the state of modding on primaries and secondaries in particular. And I don't think it's wrong to be upset about that. But the solution, I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how you get build diversity or interesting modding, and don't appreciate the benefits of what we already have. Again, another thing I hear a lot of people mention is removing base damage mods. There's a lot of reasons not to do that. The first one is that if we want less mod slots, but as we established before, you can't take them away because people formatted them, so we can't reduce the number of mod slots. Making mods that are having mandatory mods is actually good for this problem, because the way we're solving build diversity is by adding more than 8 or whatever mandatory mods, adding a critical mass of mandatory mods, so that you can't, there are 9 or more mods that feel mandatory, or more, as many more as possible, so that you have to make choices. So for that reason already, getting rid of a base damage mod is not good. Rolling it in, having it be a mod is good, because that gives us less mod space. And it's also good because it's a progression system. It teaches players that you get more damage on weapons by modding them. And it also acts, again, it might seem a little weird as a progression system, but, you know, adding endo into the thing is an early to mid-game progression system as you level up the mod. So there aren't really downsides here. Again, the best solution is to do what they did with Melee 3.0 and simply make another base damage mod that is good at something else, Condition Overload, and then you pick one. Then the mandatory mod is doing all of the good things it can do, and it's also not making builds boring, because if you want a different choice, there will be a different choice. This is the case on Melee, for example, right now. And it's working great, and as long as they just do that for primaries and secondaries, we'll be in good shape. They are also already are. I often bring up examples like Amalgam Serration. This is not different enough from Serration to really be a meaningful choice at the moment, but it indicates that they intend to go in that direction. Split Flights is like that. Split Flight. Internal Bleeding and Hemorrhage are kind of a different direction. This is adding another powerful option, so that you want to put more things in your slots. There's more different things you're thinking about adding into the build, so also contributes to that solution. Again, like, it's kind of moot to talk about, you know, how should we make modding more interesting, because our developers already know how they're going to do it and are already doing it, and it's already working and it's already worked before. And so it's like, is there much to say? But I think a lot of the time I feel like it is worth discussing. So I don't know if that helps people. I'm glad. Yeah, we can do the Jack. Yike. Don't think about that one too much. I haven't played a Railjack defense mission yet, I don't think. Is it what I expect it's going to be? I guess we'll find out. San Vigotes, welcome back. How you doing? Dirty Blue said there will always be more mandatory mods, though. I'm not sure what you were trying to say by saying that. Can you elaborate? We can do the Jack. That is the thing I said, and I can't take it back. That is a thing I was forced to immortalize on the internet. I haven't played a Railjack mission on someone else's Railjack since they retrofitted. So I'm... Oh boy. Jack my rail. Let's not. You should call your Try Talk the Jack Shack. Okay. And demonetized every single time, folks. Oh boy. Fire! Oh, I keep forgetting to put the Amisha back on. Omni me back. Take me back. Go. Put me back in. There we go. Let's try the guns. Oh, this, what? I thought, huh. Okay, that was my fault. I'm going back in again. It's still not that used to new Railjack. You should call your Try Talk the Jack. So bad. Okay, wait, what did I do wrong here? Is this not the way to the guns, or is there just someone already on the guns? Exit Railjack. Exit Railjack. Do they just have no guns? What's going on? How do you get on the side guns? Am I being silly? What's going on? Oh boy, okay. They're in the middle now. Well, right, but what I mean is how... Where are they? Those are the guns, but it just says exit Railjack. There's no gun. You see, if I click this, I know the side gun's removed. That's why I'm asking this question. Someone's on the guns, turns into an exit if they're in use. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. That's silly. Again, it's not my railjack. That's why. Get in there. Hey, Vidar engines. Mark II. I have so few different, I sold a lot of my blueprints for stuff, so I have like almost no choices. That's the thing that has happened. Ooh, I haven't been to this style before. This is the ice mine style, is that right? Delicious. Yato got me about the modding thing you said, and now I'm thinking they could just extend heavy caliber a few ranks. Yeah, like, for example, something that would really help would be make heavy caliber stronger and make the accuracy reduction even larger. So it gives you the option to choose, you know, a different way of getting base damage. But it has a more notable drawback. Then that would create another different motivation, sure. Oh, baby. Archammer, thank you for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. Oh, baby. That was a big sub hammer is more like it vibes. Spicy. Beautiful. Congratulations to Bursinger, Twilight Researcher, Blake's, Ace Twitch, Lotion, I'm not going to read the rest of that, Greater C, Morau, Revan Darkeye, J100, and Decipius for receiving gifted subs. Thank you so much, Archammer. That's extremely generous. Wait, what? Did something get defended? What happened? Gotta reward the good reasoning. That is awfully flattering of you. I am humbled by the reward. Gladly taken. What? Okay. Oh boy. Maybe I'll play Railjack missions solo for a little while until I understand what's going on. That might be a thing. Oh, we're going somewhere else now, too. Okay. Might as well get in the firing port. Granum's Nemesis. That's a spicy name for a mod. Sorry, I wasn't fast enough. Wow. I had not seen that mod yet. That's a good name. Parvos Granum, the Corpus founder. Granum's Nemesis. Glorious. Got him. Hey, Tether. That's nice. Asymptomatic. Thank you for the Prime sub for 11 months. XDYP, my Zandy ticker symbol is up. Time to buy more air fryers? No. I already have 2 air fryers. We don't need more. I'm not buying any more air fryers. Zandy stonks. Ah, yes. Gotta get those Zandy stonks.
Time to buy more air fryers.
Okay, I feel like the Texas Peach didn't do like the best job with that, but it also could have been worse. Let's take care of those. Can you board these? Sure you can. I haven't been inside one of these yet. What do we got in here? Wait, what's going on? Do you have to assemble something in a certain order? How does this work? Are you just dropping parts of the ship off of it to sabotage them? How does this work? Ooh, this is interesting. I like the tile of this part. Oh, we did something. I don't know how this works. Ah! Railjack. What are you doing to me? Okay, I have no idea what's going on there. Oh. Koala-chan, thanks for the tier 1 sub for 10 months. Folks, 12 subs on the hype train. All in one go. Thank you very much. Welcome back, Koala. At least the Omni worked, I suppose. Someone killed the cruise ship from the outside after you exposed the core. Okay, but then something terrible happened, so it's definitely a little bit more than just that. Oh boy. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do these solo for a while. In fact, maybe I should do them solo right now. What objective? How do people feel about Railjack so far? I mean, like, new Railjack time. Lily, you said you were building a PC from scratch. That sounds exciting. Any particular goal or budget in mind? Solo Railjack is great when you have a crew. Yeah, besides bugginess, I was pretty happy with solo Railjack. I did. But I feel my this early experience of Railjack with public matchmaking is not what I want so far. It feels like you need an amount you would want a little more coordination than you're gonna have in Warframe. That's maybe a controversial feel. Solo Railjack is smooth as butter. Smooth like butter, that's right. Yeah, we gotta play some solo Jack. Gotta jack it solo. We'll do that after this mission. No, we were already in this defense mission before, which I think is funny. Yeah, there's also the point a lot of people have made. When we talked about Railjack recently, about how this is a lot better than how Railjack was, but it still feels like the Warframe on the ground part and the Railjack part are a little separate, and integrating that a little more would be good. Something that I think is interesting is how when they first teased Railjack, when we saw Railjack at TennoCon 2019, I believe. I think it was TennoCon 2019. I could be wrong about that. It was the last one I went to. We saw in the early forms of Railjack that they seemed to be trying to do a thing where the ship would have like fire support on the boots on the ground mission you were in. They kind of raided a little Orcan tower in space, and then some of the people stayed on the Railjack and helped the people on the ground. That, it feels like we're closer to that, and that was the version I was excited about. That was the when people said, "Are you excited for Railjack?" I was thinking about that. I was excited about that, you know, and it didn't. I don't know. There are a few other things I see people saying they like. I do find it fun to use the tactical menu for regular missions. Sure. Seeing other people in Necromex in regular missions is also fun. I think Necromex should just be available in regular missions. I don't really like that you have to be in a Railjack mission to use a Necromech in a normal mission. I think you should just be able to use Necromechs in normal missions. There's already little enough reason to use a Necromech, so maybe making them even more restricted. I don't know. Personally, I don't like that, but maybe that's the direction we're going in, and using Necromechs in normal missions are kind of a carrot. You know, it's like, please try Railjack. One of the fun things is you can do this. Sure, fine. I don't love that, but I can see, I'm picking up what they're putting down if that's the idea. Oh, that's my Warframe, huh? The Railjack only part is just a slow rollout for them as they continue to tune it, as far as I know. That was my impression as well, just to say, you know, for what it's worth, that is still my feedback about the Necromech thing. I don't want one of the main reasons for Railjack to feel unique to be Necromechs, because I ultimately want Necromechs to not be unique to Railjack. That's all I was trying to say. Ace, thank you for the 1 bit. Every little bit counts. Ace is the kind of viewer where, on the one hand, you get a $50 tip. On the other hand, this person gives you a penny at a time. It's that kind of whiplash that keeps me in the business, baby. Thank you very much, Ace. Ace tips us in band names. Ah, yes. Actually, isn't that less than half a cent? No, Lily, when you get given bits, I get the money value of the bits. So if you give me 100 bits, you gave me $1. The way that it's kind of not the amount of money you would normally think it would be is that 100 bits does not cost $1. It costs more than $1. So you pay more than that, but when I get bits, I get that much in pennies. If you give me 10,000 bits, I get $100, but you paid more than $100 for those bits. Whereas with Twitch subs, you pay $5 and I get $2.50. If it's a Prime sub, I just get $2.50. Overall, it's fairly simple because the subs give a set amount of money to me, and the and bits also give like the listed amount of money. The confusing part is how much you pay versus how much I get. That's a bit complicated on Twitch, depending on how you buy the bits, etc. That's the confusing part. I kind of just want the pretty train next to my name as free real estate. Nothing wrong with that. That's totally respectable. Is that what that icon is? That Swiss cheese looking icon on Twitch? Wait, is that really what that is? Mind blown. That's what that icon is. This whole time, it's just been the hype train icon. I thought it was just Swiss cheese. I feel like the lethargy that came from that one Railjack event gave them faulty feedback. They think that we don't like the cooperative style of mission, but in reality, what we didn't like was forced cooperation. I get that, Lily. I do think there was some signal to noise problems with the Railjack stuff we've had in the past, Orphix Venom and not really Orphix Venom, but that's Necromech feedback. I was trying to say Scarlet Spear. I would agree if that's what you mean, that was maybe like a false positive feedback update, where the problems were more circumstantial. They weren't systemic problems necessarily. Wait, Swiss cheese? Look at the icon next to Asymptomatic's name. I'm pretty sure it's a hype train icon, but I thought it was like, I didn't know what it was. I thought it looked Swiss cheesy. Come on, it looks kind of like Swiss cheese. I just had some Swiss cheese this morning. Maybe that's why I'm thinking about Swiss cheese. It's cheesy, that's all I'm trying to say. It's a cheesy looking icon. Fake Doctor, I really appreciate you said, I'm turning my head almost upside down and squinting and I can't make it look like cheese. I really appreciate the effort. You really put in the effort for me. That's wonderful. I'm really touched that you did that. I'm trying so hard to engage with you in good faith here. That's absolutely admirable. I love it. Beautiful. You saw the train as cheese? You just crave cheese? I do crave cheese. That's a valid criticism of me as a human being. Okay, also, why are there so few enemies in this mission? Is that a thing? Is that just me? I feel like there are practically no enemies present in this mission. Come back when you're a real doctor, SMH my head. Ooh, baby. Shaking my SMH. Oh wait, is this the end of the mission? Oh, okay, that's a little jarring. We just teleport back to space. Okay. That's fine, but yeah, that's a little jarring. I think that's really contributing to people feeling like, okay, it's a taxi to a defense mission. That's not helping. Sure. Can I leave now and not lose rewards because I'm not the host? Or even if I was the host, I guess it's fine. That's kind of awkward, yeah. Are the Railjack enemies still abnormally strong? We got hemorrhage, naturally. Thanks for giving me hemorrhage early, chat. Well, that was some of you anyway. Let me... boo-boo. Have you ever ordered an $130 PC power supply and received a brand new $400 VR headset in the mail instead? That's awesome. And also confusing, because you still need the power supply. But money, though, sure. The ones in the instance aren't buffed up, the ones inside objectives are. Okay, that's really confusing. That's very confusing. For the Railjack enemies being stronger, like they are and they aren't, basically yes and no is what you said. That's very confusing. That's deeply confusing. Okay, well, chat gave you a hemorrhage? Correct. That's exactly how I feel. Folks, just gotta run to the doctor's office quickly to get that hemorrhage fixed. Behold my Twitch archive lightning round Q&A parlay segment where I answer questions from people who watched the previous stream archives to entertain you while my present self hits the head on the ship. We call that peeing off the side. Today we have one such question from Monkey Bob, who asks, is astrology space racism? And the answer is obviously yes. But I have an interesting background with astrology because, well, I have nothing personally to do with it. Anna, my partner Anna, has a lot of interest in it, and so does my mom. Randomly, we found out. I didn't know this for a long time, and then my Anna and I were visiting my parents, and she brought up the topic, and my mom had all this astrology stuff. Or I think my aunt, but then my mom was interested. Anyway, whatever. So I happen to know, because they know, that I wrote this down: Gemini Sun, Scorpio Rising, Scorpio Moon. I don't know what that means, but I know that it means I have double Scorpio for all the intensity. They told me that means that makes me a very intense person, which of course it doesn't. It just, yeah, astrology, I feel similarly to how I feel about tarot, for example. Now, I like tarot as a gaming card system. Tarot is, of course, originally gaming cards. They were not used for, I don't mean any offense by this, but occult purposes, for divination, if you will, whatever you want to call it, for determining stuff about people, supposedly. For a while, they were originally, it's just a deck of gaming cards that has some different stuff in it, right? And I have, that I was holding there, a tarot deck that is optimized for gaming. It's more clear, the suits of the cards. It's very similar to a normal 52 card deck of playing cards, because tarot has a 52 card deck of playing cards in it. It just also has other cards that you use for other things. So anyway, I think that readings, tarot readings, and astrology, likewise, things like it, are very interesting, provided that you assume that they're not true, because they're not. There's no reason that would have any effect on our lives. Because they're kind of a meditation tool. It's like, what if some random force asserted that X or Y or Z thing was going to happen to you? How would you feel? How would you react to that? If I say, your astrology signs or whatever tell me that you're going to have a major breakup in your life sometime soon, and then you respond by thinking, oh no, I have to worry about that thing, that's bad. I feel like arguably taking it really seriously, I feel like very few people do, would be harmful. But viewing that as, all right, let me put myself in the mindset of, what if there's a grain of truth to that? Because of course humans look at patterns, and that's how people believe in these things, because they look at the patterns that the things indicate. You can make it seem true. You can say it in a way that seems true if you want to. And if you look at it with a measured approach, but still thinking that way, it can be kind of an interesting suggestion. What if I just am invited to focus a little more on the people I'm close to? What if I think of it as, I should make sure that nothing goes wrong with those people. Nothing wrong with that, right? I think that can be a refreshing, interesting little thing. I think that treating it as some kind of law of the universe that is guaranteed to happen to you, nah, I'm not sure that's the greatest idea. But anyway, those are my thoughts on astrology being space racism. Now let's go back to our own space racism, shall we? On with the show. Folks, just as an aside, racism really in 2021? Lately I don't have a lot to say about it at the moment, but lately there have been a lot of terrible things happening for reasons that make me embarrassed to be a human being. Please do better. I know I'm preaching to the choir about that, but really, come on. Welcome back, everyone. Time to cancel Zandy Pants for being a space racist. There you go, sure. If I was, you should. It is not good to be that thing. I just wanted to make sure, as we were joking about it, it's a joke because it's so ridiculous. It's so laughable that you would be racist. It is so preposterously invalid. That is why we are talking about that as a thing. It's always important when you have a potentially new audience to make sure it's clear that you are not down for that thing. We're joking about it because it's laughable, not because it's acceptable, right? That's a thing that is worth establishing. Good friend, welcome back. How you doing today? Glorious. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I liked that video too. I thought the next week videos came out pretty well. I'm curious if people I'm curious if anybody here has thoughts about the other framework weeks. Did you like the Nyx one the most? Were there other ones you liked more? For what reasons, Dirty Blue Dream, you said I was away for like 5 minutes. What on earth happened? Dirty Blue Dream, in the middle of every stream, I take a break to hit the head. Here on the ship, we say go into the bathroom, hit the head, so that I don't have to pee in the middle of a stream. Okay, that's terrible. And while I do that, I answer a Q&A question. I'll briefly show you what that looks like. From one of the viewers from the stream archive. A lot of times people watch these streams not live, and I like to give them a way to ask questions, and I do that like this. Behold my Twitch. And then I go on about, you know, the answer. So that's what happened. In it, the question today was about astrology. So I talked about astrology, and as a passing comment, the person asking the question defined astrology as space racism, which I thought was an amusing way to refer to astrology. But when I came back after the break, I wanted to clarify that I think it's amusing because racism is ridiculous and embarrassing and pathetic and immature, not because racism is funny. I thought it was extra important in light of recent events to be extra clear about how accepting this space is going to be about that, and how absolutely unacceptable it is if you are not accepting of that, which I know all of you are. I mean, again, it's like this kind of stuff. Sometimes I feel a little silly bringing these things up, but it's always good to make people feel welcome. You don't know when there's going to be a lurker that would like to feel confident that you're going to accept them, but just isn't sure. And so I don't think it's a bad thing to mention now and again. Anyway, let's do some of that Jack, shall we? But yeah, I was curious if people had other thoughts about about framework weeks or something, that I'd be interested to hear what people have to say, if people want to say anything about that. Rusty, you said in answer to your confusion just before the break about enemies and instances and side objectives, the buffed enemies are the new Orax enemies, who are built more like Grenier. Oh, they're different. That's what you're trying to describe. Yes, okay, I understand. The stronger Railjack enemies are literally different. That makes a little more sense. I was very confused about that. I like the Frost one the best, but that's because I play more Frost. Yeah, fair enough. I think I like the Frost one the least. I mean, there have only been 3, but I felt like the Frost one was it showed the weaknesses of this format more than the other ones did, in that the 3 builds are just not like that different. I didn't really feel like I did a good job focusing enough on like the way you would play them differently. I focused a little too little on the loadout for each of those, I feel, where they warranted it more, whereas the Nyx one didn't warrant focusing on the loadout as much, and I didn't, so that's fine. You can also talk about Excalibur and Mag and Volt, of course, although those were obviously structured a little bit differently. I hadn't quite nailed down how I wanted the series to be yet. But I'm glad people have been enjoying them. People have been really positive, which it's okay if you have negative feedback, but it's really flattering that people have been so positive. That's great. I'm glad people like them. I haven't done the... This just means I need to get rid of some of these, I guess. Can I safely just get rid of everything that's Mark 1 rank? I probably can, right? Does anybody have any thoughts about methodology? No, I shouldn't get rid of Mark 1 things. You can still valence fuse Mark 1 equipment. Oh, interesting. Okay. Do I... Can I kind of forgot about valence fusion. How does it work now? So like, let's say I like Cryophon and I have a Mark III Cryophon. Can I just expend only this blueprint? Or I guess this is, it's not a blueprint, but you know what I mean. Can I just expend this and make my Mark III more powerful, or do I have to build this? How does that work? Because if you have to build them, then you want to be efficient, right? Just the blueprint. Oh, that's not so bad. Okay. I will... Zeki is also bugged to give way less endo than it should when you scrap it. They'll probably run a script to fix that, so I feel like that's fine. I feel like it's safe. Well, I don't have a lot of space though. I guess we should go through and look at them. We should go through and look at, like, what do I like? What am I looking for? We really should do that. It's just a lot, and I want to play a little bit. Is your reactor topped out? I don't really remember at all. In fact, we can go look if you want. Maybe people would like to, we could talk about that. Let's go dry dock. I haven't played that much Railjack. We did that one stream on Monday. Oh, there we go, it worked. Well, Pyth, the reason people are suggesting to keep the Mark 1 and 2 things is for valence fusion, not to use them. It's apparently valence fusion, there's some potential there, depending on the resource cost. So let's take a look. I would rather inform myself. Whoa. 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 Is this, this is decorations, right? This is not the default. This is like Dyer popped off. Yeah. Wow. Oh, man. Dyer, I was dead convinced that there was an update and this is just how it looked now. You have sold it beyond words. Like, this is a real tile. Like, I'm dead convinced that this is just a real tile in the game. This looks sick. Wow. Oh. Oh, let me just pour some cold water on myself. Get a steak out of the freezer, if you know what I'm saying. Ooh, big damage. Wow. Oh, look at that. What the actual hell? Oh, we're climbing this. We're gonna climb it. Folks, Dyer, thank you for popping off on... I remember I said, if you want to redecorate this, feel free. And you were like, oh, you know, I'll give it some thought. Absolutely popped off. Wow. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, dude, it looks so good. Pour one out for this absolute madman. We might need to get the Lagavulin, folks. Should we get it? That's the kind of tile that makes you Dojo of the Week. Dyer's Dojo has been Dojo of the Week. Get the Lagavulin. Folks, we're getting the Lagavulin. Stop the presses. We're getting the Lagavulin. I'll be right back. We should find a... We should find a screen to put up. Should we have a getting the Lagavulin screen? Should that be a thing? It's not in here, is it? Okay, I'll be right back. We've got the Lagavulin every single time, folks. Here we are. Dyer. We're breaking out the Lagavulin 16 year just for you. You need to get the Lagavulin banner screen. We should draw a, if anyone's played Slay the Spire, you might be familiar with, there's an enemy called a Lagavulin, that I think it'd be fun to have a Zandified picture of, maybe. Mewtwo, thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. How you doing today? We have a recent new viewer named Giratina, which I think is charming. Welcome back. I remember being a kid and watching that Pokemon movie where Mewtwo clones all the Pokemon and then the normal ones die, and I cried my eyes out and it scarred me for life. Anyway, yeah, that elite in Act 1 in Slay the Spire. You did such a good job, I'm going to have a very expensive drink. That is exactly what I'm going to do. Cheers. For people unfamiliar, Lagavulin 16 year is a pretty iconic Irish whiskey. A brief little build craft for Irish whiskeys. Scotch, excuse me, not Irish, Scotch, 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 replace Scotch everywhere. Scotch whiskey is not a monolithic category. It's like saying green tea. There are lots of kinds of green tea. It doesn't tell you much, you know. It's gonna be whiskey. It's Scotch, you know, but it doesn't tell you a lot, right? Lagavulin is a famous old kind of whiskey called an Islay whiskey. These have a lot of peat. This makes them very smoky. They have kind of a salty thing going on. They're abrasive and aggressive and definitely not for everyone. I really like it, but I don't really disagree with the criticism that it tastes like a tire fire. It's pretty harsh, yeah. But Dyer, for redecorating the dojo like this, we gotta raise a glass. There's no other choice. We're raising a glass. Carbon Black, welcome aboard. You said, have you tried the mind control build in play? Yes. It looks like a lot of setup. It is. As I said in the video, it's not a very good build. There's a lot of setup, and the payoff is a little questionable. It's not a good build. That wasn't the point of the video. That being said, you get a completely functional Nyx build. So in that sense, it is a pretty good strategy, in that your janky thing that is not good most of the time is not most of the build, you know? That's more the place where I think the idea behind playing that build is sound. The idea behind doing the thing in that build, it's one of those things where, like, doing the gimmick of the build makes it worse. Playing the build but not doing the thing improves the build. We have been trying it. It's really hard to demonstrate in gameplay because Warframe is not a game where it's easy to demonstrate things. One thing that I've talked about a lot on this stream and will continue to is that, so I used to make build videos where I would include gameplay examples, and the reason I stopped doing that is, among many reasons, there are a lot of reasons, the biggest reason is that you gotta understand, if I have a busy week where I stream 5 days a week, I make videos on my second channel as well, whoa, okay, that happened, oh, okay, oh boy. I stream 5 days a week and make videos on the second channel, and I'm doing Patreon fulfillment and managing the Discord community and stuff like that. On top of that, if I'm going to make multiple videos every week, making them faster and min-maxing how much I lose, build crafting how much I lose is important, right? And when I make a framework build video, I spend like maybe a half hour actually giving you the content of the build. If it goes well, sometimes an hour or two, sure. But, you know, it's not too long. It's manageable, right? But then I end up having to spend like 5 hours getting gameplay examples of the thing happening in game, just because Warframe is not hospitable to that. Warframe is not a game where that is easy. It's not a clear game. It's not a reliable game. It's not a non-buggy game, you know? And so the thing to keep in mind about gameplay examples is we can talk practically about how a build will feel in normal gameplay. We have, and we will, after we give a toast to Dyer here, who made this glorious railjack hanger dojo decoration tile. Dyer made this look awesome, and I want to celebrate. After we do that, we will try it a little more before the end of this stream. But the thing to keep in mind is that seeing a few missions and having the thing not work doesn't determine whether it works. Seeing gameplay examples in someone's video doesn't determine whether the thing makes sense in normal gameplay. You just have to think critically about it. These streams are much more an opportunity an invitation to discuss that, rather than a way to prove whether the thing is good or not. I don't care about doing either of those things. I'm not saying you have to not care. It's okay if you care. It's important for me to communicate that my intention is not to do that. I'm not trying to do that. I think that often we will succeed at doing that, but that's not my primary goal. My primary goal is to have fun playing it with you and answer questions about it. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, the Lagavulin, there's not too much to say. Again, it's an Islay Scotch. Being a Scotch doesn't tell you much about the whiskey. Scotch is a huge category. They could have all sorts of flavors. But an Islay Scotch, these are peaty. They have this kind of smoke and earth thing. I consider these pretty inaccessible. That being said, this is a 16-year-old whiskey. It does not taste like alcohol. It does not burn going down. That is not a thing that 16-year-old good alcohol does. That's not how that works. but it's still very hard to drink because the flavor is just aggressive. Like, it's intense. I like it. You probably won't. I do not recommend this, but it is tasty. Also, one of my preferred cocktails is made with this, the Smoky Koki. What an amazing name for a drink. The Smoky Koki is Lagavulin 16 year and Coca-Cola. Just not sponsored. The contrast of this cheap base mixer. Ugh, I don't even want to say the word mixer. It's like a base damage mod in your build. Ugh. With the Lagavulin is actually surprisingly amazing, but it's just weird and comical. Anyway, order it at a bar sometime. Your bartender will be happy. Let's give it a go. As I described, very harsh smell, nose of like salt water, and burnt rubber. Somebody was drag racing illegally, and you went for a walk at night where they were drag racing illegally, and you like walked on the street for a second because there's no one around, and you smell this weird burnt rubber smell. Has a bit of that. Like, it gives a little bit of the impression of it being spicy. It's not, but if you didn't know better, you might smell it and think, are there hot peppers in this? No, there aren't, but it kind of has that like sort of capsaicin on your nose kind of experience. That's not a thing, but it kind of feels that way. Anyway, we'll go for a taste. As you see, I've mostly polished it off. Cheers, Dyer. This dojo, let's get a good view. Hold on, we gotta get a good view. Look at this dojo decoration, absolutely beautiful. Let's get a solid view of that. Oh, just glorious. I'm humbled that you made this thing in my dojo. In our community dojo, you made this work of art. Legendary. Yeah, salty. Not entirely unrelated to like a tequila. Has kind of a vegetal flavor. It's warm. It definitely has kind of a bourbon or rye intensity. It's not a quiet, it's not a subtle whiskey. It's not relaxing to drink. My mom asked me about this, and I told her that it tastes like you brewed whiskey on a ship on the ocean, and that ship burned to the ground and smoldered for 5 days, but the whiskey was okay somehow, and then you drank it. That's what it tastes like. It does kind of taste like a tire fire. People have said that. Ace has bought this bottle. You told me, and you said it tasted like that. Binging with Babish has this bottle and thinks it tastes like that. That is a very good description of how it tastes. Kind of sweet, too. Yeah, and then this smoke or kind of wood, just bog wood flavor. Not funky, but bayou flavor. It's weird, but I oddly like it. I gotta say, I might have Stockholm syndrome for this one. Like, there are definitely whiskeys, like Monkey Shoulder whiskey. I love the flavor of, and I think if you like whiskey or you can tolerate whiskey, you will drink it and think, oh, I like this flavor. It's like good, a tasty flavor. Tastes like banana funk. I love Monkey Shoulder. Go get a bottle of Monkey Shoulder. Don't get this. That one, I like it because it tastes good. This one, I think it's just like every time I take a sip of it, I just want to laugh. It's just like, what the hell? And like, why? It's not even personally. I think there's craftsmanship in this that lets you appreciate these flavors are weird, and you don't have to want to die when you drink them because we carefully crafted this whiskey to have this just absurd flavor. I gotta say, I know it seems ridiculous because this bottle of whiskey is like, depends where you live, but like $75. This is a good drink to have with a mixer. Like, I wasn't joking about that Smoky Kogi thing. I think that's delicious. It really opens up in this interesting way, but it's not gonna not taste like itself. I don't know. Again, not really recommended, but I personally sort of enjoyed it. Let's look at what we got. This is awful. Bleh. Swig. Really selling it there, friend. I'm not trying to sell it. I don't think you should buy it. This is one of the worst things to recommend I've ever purchased. Let's talk about plating stuff, and then we'll go into a mission and try the mind control build a bit more. The resistance Nyx. Megatron, thanks for the Prime sub. Welcome back. How you doing today? I know you've been here for a bit. What's going on? Rogue pontoon attack. Yeah, while I was talking about it, we got swept off by one of the floating pontoons. So this one has less armor. This one has a lot more armor, better stats overall. The thing is, because of the diminishing returns on armor damage reduction, I feel like this is sensible, and it probably also costs less resources, right? Let's see if that's true. Sure it does. Pow. 12 hours. Cancel repairs. Oh, if you use a rush repair drone, which I have an insane number of. Yeah, I should probably just repair this one, just to have some starter plate. It doesn't have to be perfect, and then I'll scrap this one. Oh, we were saying we weren't going to do that, but too bad. Too late now. Boost speed. Oh, I see the Mark IIIs are the only ones that have that boost. And now we could Valence Fusion. No compatible items for Valence Fusion. I don't... Megatron, you said, I didn't know I could sub with Amazon Prime, so that's what a Prime sub is. I thought it was just the highest tier. No, if you have Amazon Prime and you have it connected to Twitch, Amazon owns Twitch, and you can sub to someone for free once a month. It's a tier 1 sub. You get whatever their tier 1 rewards are. They still get paid. You just gave me $2.50 for free. You took $2.50 from Amazon and gave it to me. You don't pay any more or less for using it or not using it. You just subtract $2.50 from Amazon and give it to me. If you pay for a sub, you pay $5 to Amazon and they give me $2.50 of it. Wait, seriously? Yes. Once a month, that's what a Prime sub does. Amazon just gives me $2.50. It's pretty good. I lots of reasons not to like Amazon, but this is a nice system. I mean, if you have Amazon Prime, you're paying for it either way. That's the other way to look at it, right? So, scrap wreckage. Oh, this is like all the stuff. I see. So what I'm confused about here is when it says Valence Fusion, this doesn't see any targets because I only have Vidar engines, right? Is that correct? That's how that works? Anyway, I'll scrap the Mark 1 of these. They have to be the same house. Okay, cool. So we'll just get rid of some of them for a little while. Again, we'll get more. There's no need to stockpile them now. Plating, we're building one. Reactor, what do we got? This Vidar one, damage immunity after a breach. These won't have modifiers. But yeah, more duration is not what I want. And I'm not going to want a Levon reactor. So we can determine it by house. We can look at like what does that kind of thing do? And then choose based on that. Am I going to want that thing? So for shield arrays, we can say Vidar shield arrays focus on overallness. Zetki has recharge rates at the expense of shield capacity. So your shields don't recharge if you're taking damage still in Railjack, right? So you want shield capacity, don't you think? How do people feel about that? I certainly don't think you'd want something rounded. I'm certainly not excited about something that is like in between, right? I would think I would want Levon for the big shields. So we get rid of Vidar. And then Zetki, like, we could just Valence Fusion this one to be really good so that we have, like, a lot of, you know, as you can see at the moment, this Vidar one has, you know, okay stats, but this one, it doesn't really have less shields. Like, this must just be, like, sort of a good amount of shields for a Zetki shield array. So we could just Valence Fuse into this one to, well, let's see what the stats on these are. Yeah, I think, let's, just for the sake of trying it out, let's do this. We get to choose stats. Railjack damage, 25% when shields are depleted, or 10 on board get 10% shields. Ugh. Fuse. Oh, it does cost stuff. You just don't have to wait to build it, right? Oh, and it buffs it by that much. Oh, this is a nice interface. I like this. It seems fine, sure. Damage. Cool. Minus 4-second shield recharge delay. Spicy. Cool. And yeah, we'll keep this Levon one to fuse with later. Okay, this is not as confusing as I thought it would be. We'll just do this for a little bit and then play a bit more of the next stuff. Zetki caps at 1500 shield capacity, 1-second recharge. Levon caps at 2000, 4-second recharge. Oh, what the hell? Okay, yeah, no, I'm just gonna get rid of the Levon one then. We'll swap to that Zetki one. I think I'm just gonna scrap this Vidar one. I'm gonna save this just in case they buff that effect. I'd be kind of interested. But, yeah, we're gonna scrap the Levon one. That's crazy. Just had to speedrun helping my wife go to sleep so I can catch the rest of the stream. Ooh, that has some implications. I hope it went well. How you doing? Welcome back. Good on ya. We might as well... Oh, you can't do that? Okay. And now we'll look at guns. So I haven't quite found what I like yet, but I do like Talon. This is kind of like it has a ramp up, which I like. I think it feels fun. Do we have any Talon? Nope. Space Soma. I guess, sure. There are a lot of weapons with ramp up. Lathe is like a repeater shotgun, which I think is fine. Glazio seems really good on paper. I just haven't personally enjoyed shooting it that much. I'm not saying it's not good. I just, that's how it felt. I'm a bit confused about these bonuses. Can you just not get a bonus? Is that why, like, some of them don't? Oh, only the Mark III ones, of course, yes. Oh, right, these ones aren't from Breakage. Sorry, confusion cleared up. So yeah, here we have like 1 million Photor. We do have, oh, right, these are non-house versions. So, like, we'd have to take Talon here. Yeah, that's why. That makes more sense. So, yeah, I guess we can start with this and then go from there. And then, yeah, by Valence Fusion, you can just get the boost to be really good. This one is Mark II, but we can fuse other things into it later. So that's fine. I guess the big thing is yeah, you want to pick a house you like and then bump up the bonus, but I don't know what the different houses do. Do people know what the different houses do? This is the part that I feel like is kind of intimidating to players trying to get into it. I feel like this kind of stuff, I don't know, like there should just be a pop-up that says this house is this house is this house is this. Because at this point it's like I'm just going to look at anyway, I guess at this point, realistically, I should just scrap the Mark 1s and not worry about it and go from there. That seems fine. I think that's what I'll do. Yeah. For now. And then, because I would much rather look at it myself. This is how I would want to make the decision. I just don't have time. So it's better to... I'll just scrap the Mark 1 things because it's probably not a big deal. And then we'll go from there. Any other not so great stuff? No, it's fine. I guess I could get rid of things I just don't like, but again, I might want them for valence. Yeah, and it seems like it seems like you also want to err on the side of, yeah, like things that overheat a lot, because you can mitigate that with the gunnery thing at a high rank, gunnery 9. Yep. Okay, anyway, let's Kami, welcome back. How you doing? We're gonna finish up the stream with a bit more Railjack, and we're gonna try this mind control build a bit. The Resistance Nyx. It's not gonna be hard to set up. The benefit is simply not that high once you do set it up. Earlier I wanted to quickly respond again to to Carbon Black. Earlier when you said, if you tried the mind control build in play, it looks like a lot of setup. It's very easy to set up. That's not the problem at all. The problem is it just doesn't do that much. As I said in the video, it simply doesn't... Setting it up just arguably doesn't really do anything. Or not that it doesn't do anything, but it arguably doesn't do enough. That's the point. It's not hard to set up. You just have to shoot the enemy with your Acrid, and then mind control them, pretty much. Then it's easy to buff them with radiation, and then that's it. It's not hard to set up. It's just not that beneficial to set up. Womp. Keep forgetting. Okay, folks, after this mission, please tell me to swap my Railjack, my Arcwing, to Amisha, because that's what I want. Ooh, I like this style. Do you think it's likely Orphix will get included in modes outside of Railjack? Somewhere down the line once Universal Mechs are up and running? Maybe. Yeah. Perhaps. Again, at lower levels, you just won't use this because enemies will die way too fast from you trying to set it up, which is fine. It just means it's not useful. And this is the difficulty with just doing something silly in Warframe, is that a lot of the time at lower levels you can't do it categorically because the enemies are just too weak. But what are you gonna do? There's another Talon. Oh! Was that just the loot cave? Or was I supposed to do something else in there? It's a mobile defense. I thought it was an Orphix mission. Or are those the same thing? You fell at the bottom, it's mobile defense. What? But it said it was an Orphix mission. I don't understand. Okay. This is how I feel. Is I want to like Railjack so much, but every time I play, I'm just confused and don't know what you're supposed to be doing. But I guess it hasn't been that long, so it's worth mentioning. Get those shields. Pranks. That's right. The game... that's the explanation. The game is pranking ya. Having AI repair stuff is also just like, oh, wonderful. Oh, is that the portal to the Spiral Abyss over there? That one? That one? Ooh, what if we fly in there? What does that do? You think the AI, the repair AI is dead? Uh-oh. That's bad. Is that true? Hey, fix that. Maybe it can fix minor breaches? They bled out. Oh boy, that's not good. Let's fly into that and see what happens. How do you check if it's the... Oh yeah, you can see at the top. It is the engineer. You can't bring them back, right? They're just dead. Want to go in there. I don't know what I bound my tactical menu to. This is another thing about Railjack, is I don't know. But yeah, I guess we should just check. I have no idea what that's keybound to. It's not whatever, don't tell me what the default is, because I know it isn't that. We just have to look it up. Maybe it's not here? Is it just in normal key bindings, maybe? Just have bigger hands. There you go. So you don't use tactical mods at all? Koala, please humor me and listen to me carefully. I last played Railjack a long time ago, so I don't remember what I bound it to, that's all. I loved the tactical menu. I mentioned it as one of the things I liked about Railjack originally, but that was like a year ago. I just don't remember what it's bound to. Oh, and now it's not bound. I must have rebound that key to something else. I have no idea what keys are free. So I guess I'll hope G is okay? There we are. I haven't seen this since they redid stuff. So now we can reassign someone. Oh, cool. That's easy. To engineer and have them go do the thing. Oh, I should know which of them is better at being a backup engineer. That'd be nice to know. Let me remember which crew member is a better NG. That'd be nice to know. I could just put them in the order. I'm sure you can check their stats somewhere. Folks, you're just gonna have to humor me. I can't manage talking to this many people and play perfectly at the same time. Please don't be frustrated. I'm just learning. Or relearning in a lot of cases. We're taking a ton of damage. What's happening? This one enemy. Okay. How dare you not have ultra instinct reactions? That's how it feels sometimes. That's all I'm trying to say. So we have to... It's making us destroy cruise ships first. Is that right? That's what it wants us to do? It says disable priority targets, destroy cruise ships. And there's that flag there, which I do have to go destroy, or no? I get that I have to destroy cruise ships. I'm confused about what I was supposed to do in that one that I went into, and then it just kicked me out. Alright, these have shields I need to blow up, which missiles are good at, I found. Womp. Two. Hopefully our support dude will take care of that. Right, we can't boost because it's damaged. Not a bad idea, I don't think. There we are. Oh boy. Yeah, the missiles seem to destroy those little shield nodes if you can do it. Sometimes that they block it, or I don't know. The shield things I have a whole saga with, but all right, let's see. I got kicked out because I jumped in the wrong place, even though I was on the objective it said I was supposed to be on, so we'll find out how that works. So before I clicked that, and it just immediately dropped me right out. So I'm not sure what I did wrong. But now I have to defend this. Okay. That I can do. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like, as we talk about this, is there a point to even having gameplay demonstration streams? Like, is it even possible to demonstrate anything in gameplay at any reasonable amount of time? How do you feel? What do you think, folks? Is this a fool's errand? What's your feel? Oh. Why, hello there. The pixels. My bitrate. That's everyone's feel. Okay, so we did that. Now we leave. This part makes sense. Might as well have recalled, I think. Widespread pancrapping in progress. Glorious. Womp. Yeah, I mean, I guess I want something to say when people ask about, like, okay, but in missions, da-da-da-da-da, you know? I get that question. I just, it's not, there isn't really a good, I don't know. I think what frustrates me is I think other people think other people's videos have adequately demonstrated that, and they haven't, and neither it's not really demonstrable. Like, I guess you could have an enormous amount of gameplay footage that would take weeks to collect, and then you could sort of show people whether you can do this thing, but that doesn't really determine whether the build is good or not. I don't know. I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you folks. I don't want to have to do streams like this. What I want to do is have streams where I just play these loadouts because I want to play them, but I don't worry about demonstrating the thing, you know? Playthroughs may be better shown in the videos. I explained already why that doesn't make sense. You can't have framework if I have to show gameplay in the videos. I won't have time. It can't happen. It either happens here or it doesn't happen. I'm sorry, that might sound stubborn. The reality of my schedule at the moment is it either happens somewhere other than in the videos or we don't do it at all. That is the reality of the amount of time. I hope that makes sense. I hope you can understand. It just takes way too long for so little benefit, and a lot of my core audience doesn't care about showing examples like that. I just know a few people do, and I sort of respect the desire to think about that. It's just frustrating when... Oh, our camera, yeah, okay, I see what you're trying to say. I mean, again, we're still, just to be crystal clear, we're still going to stream on Saturdays. Like we normally were. We're still going to play these builds like we normally were. I'm just not going to go out of my way to talk about when earlier when Carbon Black, you asked about you know, how did you feel like it worked in a mission? I addressed that question in the video, and I think you're a player, and this is okay, that just wants what you view as like proof of if it works or not, and that's just like not really a thing. There is no proof. There is no it works or it doesn't. I get why you want to ask that. I don't think it's bad. Please don't feel bad. It's just a good example that you'll forgive me for using. And the reality of the situation is just that Warframe isn't a game where you can know that. You have to just pick things that you want. I forgot that we need to make more dome charges. So I don't know. That's how I feel, I guess. Or did I not need more dome charges? Now I can use the tactical menu again. I wish I was playing Lavos right now so I had energy. I saw another cruise ship, but don't know where it is. Oh, there's a couple. Oh yeah, you can craft energy at the forge, right. That's a thing you can do now. Hey, a Talon Mark III. That's my cam is covering it up. Should go craft energy actually while the ship doesn't boost anyway. There we go. Feed me. I cast that twice. Okay. There we are. Okay, so now I need to go to the other thing. Well, there's someone downed that I need to go res. Let's see if I can get there in time. Where? Okay. Darn! Ah, yes. Ooh, Vort. What is that weapon? Oh, that is a weapon I've heard of. I just didn't remember the name. Okay, where? So the other objective. So in the top left corner right now, it says disable priority targets, 1 of 2. And the icon is yellow. There is only a white icon in the world. Is that where I'm supposed to go? I assume this is where I'm supposed to go, right? Even though the colors don't match, that's unclear. That's the right thing to do, right? White icon is derelict, which is like a loot cave. Ah! Whoa, 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 whoa. Boo, boo, boo. White is a bonus objective. Okay. Okay. I'm of the stance of relative inputs to relative outputs. You could play X with Y loadout. How many of those benefits are present if you played X with Z loadout? As long as the explanation is present with compared and contrasted arguments, an actual demonstration is unnecessary. Yeah, I mean, Ace, and I hope it's not a secret that that's how I feel. I think that gameplay demonstrations are a waste of time, period. I think that people that want gameplay demonstrations want gameplay, like they just want to watch you play the game, which is fine. Or they want, again, like this sort of proof thing, which doesn't exist. Again, what's important is to provide the reasoning. Most people don't do things based on reasoning. They do things based on, I don't even know what to say, instinct, I guess. And so for them, it's like, if they don't see it working in a mission, to them, that's the only way it could work in a mission. They didn't see it work in a mission, so why wouldn't you show them that it works in a mission? They must not work in a mission, right? But what determines whether something is good or not, or where it's good or not, is reasoning that explains where it would be good or not, right? And I think what I'm doing by talking about streams where I demonstrate the stuff, what I'm doing is chasing those audience members that, to be honest with you, I don't want. I don't want to be catering to people who want that thing that I don't care about. My whole idea as a creator is to cater to the people I do care about, but I don't want to be stubborn. That's where this came from, is like, I get why people want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. It's just not a matter of like proving it or not. And so I think that's the takeaway. But I'm curious what people think, if people have other thoughts. But I don't know, I just like, I get when our developers say, you know, I wish people wouldn't show things in the simulacrum as much. I get it, but I'm not the person who's doing the thing that you don't like, you know? When Scott says he hates people showing in the simulacrum a lot, like, I am not the, this is a thing you need to be very careful when you say. I don't think I'm the problem there. I think the problem is the other people doing that in a way where they don't really address the consequences for playing the game, if that makes sense. So I guess that's what we'll do. Thank you for talking about it with me, folks. I appreciate you hearing me out. Oh, I remember this mode. Okay, so we need to keep moving, not get hit by the zappy boys, and also kill enemies. Yes. Yeah, the targets that are interfering, right? There we are. Ah, pulse interference. That's right. Yep. Got it again. And then jamming drones. Jamming drones. I actually like this one. I think it's fine that it's the kind of objective that makes sense for Warframe, I think. What do people think of this one? I like it. I didn't like that part. Because I got CC'd into it. Yeah, it asks you to keep moving and kill priority targets. I like this. It feels like an objective, like many Warframe objectives, where what's good about them is that they're well adapted for the challenge in Warframe. Warframe is not a game where it's hard to stay alive, so don't make the objectives about staying alive. Make them about, you know, movement and killing the priority target and such. I think that's a great way to do objectives for a game like Warframe, which a lot of objectives in Warframe are like. Yeah, Vbob, it's also true that like what we've currently done with these gameplay demonstration streams is like much more of a Q&A about the builds, right? Which is, of course, we'll still talk about them. Please don't get that idea different. We'll of course still talk about the builds. We're still going to stream on Saturdays. There's still a regular stream time. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not gonna insist on it being a gameplay demonstration mostly like I have so far been. That's the only difference. Well, rest assured, I did reassign someone as an engineer. And I know it can sometimes be frustrating. There's a sort of backseat gaming feeling where, oh no, I see what's going to make the mission not work out, but I can't do anything. You've got to accept it. Sometimes things will just go badly. I'm focusing on talking to 50 plus people. I'm going to mess stuff up. You're just going to have to let me sometimes. I appreciate trying to help, of course. Just please don't be upset. It's going to mess up a lot. Unfortunately, the mission's not over. Thank you for trying to remind me to swap to Amisha. We still have to do the main objective, I think, right? Nom. How do we get in here? Where be the entrance? Womp. Feather, you said you mentioned the idea of having a kind of buildcraft conclusion stream where you just go over all the buildcraft concepts that relate to the frame one last time to bookend the framework week, and I could see that having value. That's what we'll focus on doing then. You can slingshot into doors now. You can? That's cool. Oh, we should do that. Ooh, I like that. That's neat. I like that. Okay, so that's what we'll do then. What you described. Oh, now it's an Orphix mission. Do we just need to do, how many do we need? Okay, anyway, let's go. Three, okay. It's fine. Suddenly wish I had Fluctus, but that's fine. Oh, okay. That was good. We can shoot it now. Okay. Oh yeah, these do have markers on them. Now I remember. It's all coming back to me. They even have markers on the minimap. Okay, good. This is clearer than I remember it being. Womp. It does do an AABC rotation. I see. Okay. Good to know if you wanted to farm it. How do you get to where that one is? Nah. It's partially my fault. I don't know this tile as well as I could. How do you get there? Is it in here, maybe? Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. There we go. Okay. That's a little bit funky. Can we... Yeah, okay. There we go. Got him. That was not so bad. We're fine. Okay, that was a bit funny. Thanks for helping, folks. Good patience. Glorious. Scorpion Queen, welcome aboard. How you doing? When it says reduce sentient control, it just means I need to kill them. That's all. Not those. These, yeah. Or... No, I just lose? How does this work? I'm killing sentience, but it's not going down. Is there a way to make it go down? No? Scorpion Queen, I'm doing okay. It's been a long stream. It's really hot in my office, but people are being nice. Sentient control drops with Orphic skills, not by killing sentience. That's not clear. I mean, I know the objective of the mission. We did it during the Orphix event. The game is lagging on my end a lot. We're out. Okay. Okay, let's Amisha, talk about builds, and that'll be our show. Again, just to be clear, I obviously know how to play that mission. I know what the sentient control thing means. I would like you all to try to interpret what I'm asking as more of an intelligent question. What I was asking was, am I missing, is there something I was missing on like what to do? Yeah, I was just too slow, right? Definitely if we're gonna be doing that mission type frequently, you're gonna want to keep the Fluctus around. For people unfamiliar with this, in those missions, the Fluctus has infinite punch through, so you can just point in the direction of the node and shoot, and you'll punch through the whole tile. It probably makes sense if they're going to be missions like that to just keep this. The upshot too is if you're using a Void Rig Necromech and you want to do good damage with a gun, you might as well use the Arcabex anyway, in a sense. And so the Fluctus isn't a bad thing to have on hand. You could store it in your heavy weapon slot too. Let's grab the Amisha before I forget. And yeah, like, do I want the Mausolon? Where do I want these? I guess I'll think about that later. How long have you been playing Warframe? About 6 years now? 5 or 6 years? A while. Not forever. 5 years, I think. Probably not 6, I don't think. Isn't it Warframe's 8-year anniversary? I've not been playing it for 6 years then. It must be 5. No, Frothy, that might be right. The infinite punch through, it might just have a range, a max range. Yeah, you can also use Operator to destroy the little things, which I hadn't been as used to. Lily, are you still here? You wanted to talk about Operator weapons, didn't you? So folks, we'll do what I will go forward to do in these streams from now on, which is, I guess, to give a sort of wrap up about the loadouts from the week. I'll say my thing. Feel free to talk about your things. I did swap to Amisha. I don't think I'm going to immediately spend the resources to rank this up. You can probably rank these up kind of fast in Railtech missions though, right? Maybe that's worth doing at some point. Well, we don't have to worry about it now. Electromagnetic shielding. What is I'm not sure I'm entirely familiar. Let's take a look. Ah, yes, this mod. Wrong one. There we are. While blocking, redirect 50% of damage taken to allies within 12 meters to yourself. Ah, yes, this is a good way to stack up adaptation, sure. Using Ack Brunt, which is a sword and shield. That's interesting. Sure, yeah, if you're gonna move around and assimilate, you might like to use a sword and shield, among other kinds of weapon stances. There are lots that are good for moving around like that. You may or may not like some of them more than others. You could pick Ack Brunt and then use electromagnetic shielding to gain some. That's smart. I like that. Sure. Oh yeah, but then you don't need the adaptation stacks if you are using assimilate. Well, anyway, it's still not a bad idea in general. I don't think it's particularly good on Nyx or particularly bad on Nyx. Guardian Derision is this mod. Anyway, speaking directly about Nyx stuff, I don't have a ton to say. As I mentioned about the Frost Week and in the comments of one of the Nyx videos, I think that this is a Warframe where there isn't really that much to do, and so I don't know if I really recommend multiple builds. This build does pretty much everything Nyx does that's good, and I think the main drawback for a lot of people is that it removes chaos. So if you want to swap out Assimilate and survive a different way, that's fine. I personally don't think losing Chaos is a huge deal, because mind control and giving your mind controlled enemy radiation damage so they can inflict radiation is a lot of overlap with Chaos. It's not the same as having Chaos, but it's not that different. And this is also similar to what I would recommend as how do we say, just not an optimized, but a Nyx build built to be serious or whatever. You know, Psychic Bolts is the main draw in a lot of ways. And then Smite Infusion is another form of increasing damage, right? Which I think is fine. Like, that's not a bad idea. It's a basically functional Nyx loadout that then also does this janky mind control thing. I continue to not love Assimilate. I just feel like this is, it's a frustrating augment because it keeps you alive, but it's like at what cost? I said in the stacked Nyx video that this frustrates me because it's like, if you play Warframe, it's so unlikely that you're going to be happy losing your movement abilities, you know? If you like this, that's awesome, but I feel like it's a bad recommendation for that reason. Because it's so unlikely that you're just gonna like be happy giving that up. So maybe retooling this to be like, I could see putting Chaos back, and then I mentioned how this version of the build isn't really losing very much over this one by reorganizing the stats. So I could definitely see having the range, having less but still plenty of strength, and then fiddling around with, you know, I think I would rather have Smite Infusion here instead of Common Frenzy. And saying that's that to some extent. But I do think it would be fun to finagle with this a little bit and get it to have like an adaptation focused damage package. And then you could survive using something like that Ack Brunt technique to stack up adaptation more safely, perhaps. That's interesting. Are you a PC dude only? I do play on PC, if that's what you mean. But I think a lot of my viewers don't, but... Anyway. So those are my thoughts overall. Nyx, you know, the thing about Nyx is this is a Warframe that a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about. And I hope that this Nyx week gave you the takeaway that that's really not the problem. The problem is having a lot of positive things that people get excited to go use, right? Nyx has plenty of useful tools. That's really not a problem. The problem is that they're very normal tools. They're not exceptional. Building around Nyx, it's like there really isn't any... What does that mean? You know, there aren't really any like Nyx things. This is a very different problem from when we talked about Frost, where the problem was much more, this Warframe does a lot of good things in a bad way, you know? This Warframe does many powerful things that you want to do, but this Warframe does those things in a way that is very demanding of your mods in a rather weak way. Making it good requires making a lot of sacrifices that you maybe would rather not make, right? I think that's a very different problem. The difference, in my mind, is that for Frost, you could make things a lot better for Frost by just buffing him. You don't need to rework him. The stuff he does is fine, mostly. You just need to make the abilities he has be much better at those things. Something that I was interested in doing early into Framework's lifespan, when I was thinking about it in development, was for Warframes that I feel like are kind of not in a great place, I would spend some time talking about what I thought would make them better, or even for the tutorial video, I was thinking of having that be a video where I critique the Warframe as well. I kind of did that. I kind of do that. But to talk more about, you know, I think Frost is, you know, we say things about the Warframe, and then we say, I think this Warframe is good or bad or whatever, a bit behind the times, in need of a rework, doesn't have much of a call to action, whatever, right? And then from there, spend a little time talking about, this is what I would do to this one. That is a feel. So, that. So that's something to think about. We could fit that in somewhere. That could just be in this video. I think talking about how to rework a frame is often kind of not that productive, in the sense that I don't really agree that a lot of them should be like early or even first in line for a rework. So for example, like Frost, I just don't think is in a bad enough place for me to say like I would rather that they reworked Frost compared to Nyx, who I feel like I also don't think is in a bad enough place. No Warframes are weak at the moment. There are no bad Warframes. There are just some frames that are pretty meh, right? And I think that Nyx is a little less meh than some of them because she has some good abilities that do good things, right? These abilities you use the ability and it does a good interactive thing. There are Warframes that, well, a Warframe that doesn't have that. Valkyr just doesn't do anything, basically. This Warframe is just a pile of stats, which is not bad. None of the Warframes are bad. But if you were gonna give a Warframe's kit some attention, to put some meat on the bones of that Warframe's kit, Valkyr definitely, like objectively speaking, there is less meat on the kit than on Nyx's kit. They both lack it, right? But for Valkyr, I feel like there's almost nothing. Whereas for Nyx, it's like, you just have very basic abilities. They're good basic abilities. And again, every Warframe is good. Every time I talk about this, I say that like 4 times, and then somebody responds and says, but Valkyr is good. And I'm like, for the 5th time, this Warframe is good. Every Warframe is good. Warframe isn't hard. The problem is that you want to have fun playing the Warframes, right? And one of the things I really like about Digital Extremes as a developer, one of their strengths, I would argue, as a developer, is that they do a good job focusing on fun. Usually they focus too much on fun, and they don't make the thing practical in the game that they made. But that's not the worst thing to do when developing a game, you know, for fun. That's fine. It's just not ideal all the time, right? Doing it the opposite way, where things are practical but not fun, is not, you still have a problem, you know? So some thoughts. Valkyr was done dirty by Melee 3.0. I don't think that has anything to do with it at all. I'd be interested if you want to say more about that. But this has been a problem for the entire time I've played Warframe. She just doesn't really do anything. She has a powerful melee weapon and powerful defenses, and that's it. She has abilities that just don't... This is inferior, or I replaced it with Vile Rush, lol. She has an ability that is inferior parkour, an ability that is a passive, and an ability that is not good at what it does, and what it does is not good. Stunning 1 or 2 enemies is not that good. The damage is not set up in a way where it's that powerful, unfortunately, but it could maybe be. That could be interesting. And then again, like, this makes you invulnerable on the tankiest frame in the game by some metrics. It gives you a very good melee weapon when we already have hundreds of good melee weapons. None of those things are bad, they're just not good. They're not something to get excited about necessarily. If you're excited about Valkyr, that's fine, that's great. I'm happy that you're having fun with her. I'm just saying way more people would be interested if they gave her gameplay experience a bit of an overhaul, right? Whereas there are some other Warframes where I think also a lot of people are not excited about them, but it's not because their abilities don't do anything. It's because their abilities do the thing they do in an unexciting way, or to an unexciting degree. And those Warframes can simply be buffed a little bit. They don't need to be reworked. They need a little attention. You might think this is me nitpicking. You might think, well, Zandy, where does Nyx fall? And why do you care so much about whether it's a buff or a rework? My point, forget about the words, fine. My point is simply that the amount of effort, developer time, which, you know, they don't have, or they would just change all this stuff, the amount of time it would take to get an improvement and the amount of improvement we would get are so different. That's what I mean, are just very, very different. And to say, you know, Frost needs a rework, Valkyr needs a rework, okay, but Valkyr would take way more work because they probably have to make new abilities. They have to code new abilities. They might have to animate new abilities. Whereas Frost, you could easily simply buff all the existing abilities and just change numbers, and he would feel great. We can do that right now, actually. Freeze has an AoE when it hits the ground, but it doesn't scale with range. Make it scale with range. I think... Haha, Zada's with welcome to my account, where you pull open a Warframe and the abilities are never the abilities. This is fine. I think making the default wave width or length, maybe width, be a little bigger would be nice, but it's not the end of the world. This is fine, I think. Avalanche. The armor reduction really ought to be a bit higher, I think. That's the main thing. This ability is good. Again, Frost is pretty good. The problem here is how much it costs to make these abilities really good is just a little too high, which is meaning that while Frost has some good abilities, they can't all usually be very good at the same time. And you could help that by simply buffing, mostly Avalanche, I think. Make this ability be able to remove all armor with less strength so that players don't need to sacrifice as much to get this to be good with these other abilities. If these abilities could all be good at the same time, Frost wouldn't be overpowered. He would still be good only at a fairly specific thing. Have a general use tool and then some zone control, but he would be very good at that, right? That's the thing. Just about damage briefly. Usually a discussion comes up about, you know, the damage. Just make the damage scale. Yeah, I mean, I think that should be something they decide globally. Make all damage scale, or make it a really unique thing. At the moment, they're moving more in the direction of like all damage scaling on abilities. That's fine. That sounds fine. While it's not universal, it feels pretty awkward. So I hope they do that at some point. Going back up a little, Rented, you said, I personally like the idea of a simple frame with very basic abilities. So do I. I'm not sure if Valkyr or Inaros have to be those frames, but I want a frame to be that thing. Absolutely. I guess it's just like Nyx is obviously not intended to be that frame. They intend her to be this kind of mind control thing. And she's kind of not fulfilling that fantasy. That's what I mean. I think if there's a Warframe that's going to be plain frame, by the way, it's Rhino. Like, it's Rhino. The Warframe should be setting out to be plain frame, you know? I think Rhino sets out to do that and does it. And so I don't want frames like Valkyr or Nyx or Inaros who set out to have these interesting interactions and ways of playing. It feels like a waste for those frames to end up being so simple. And again, it's also sort of a gameplay fantasy or intention thing where when you look at Nyx, you as a new player, you don't think, oh, Nyx is a Warframe that is supposed to be really simple, right? I don't think, right? I think the biggest thing is that we do already have that frame. We have Rhino, you know. Chroma is also a problem. When you say, I would say Chroma's already that frame, but Chroma, again, is kind of clearly not really intended to be that frame. Chroma is supposed to have mechanics with the abilities he has that are just bad, like his first and fourth abilities, right? They're just not good. Whereas Rhino, it's like the abilities are supposed to do simple things, and they do, and they're good. So I feel like that's what's intended. That's my argument. You can totally disagree. That's just how I'm describing that. Arviria, you said, sorry if you already said, what's Valkyr's niche, aside from Too Angry to Die? Frames don't have a single niche or no niche. There are plenty of Warframes that have many niches, depending on how you define the word niche. I resist I don't mean to nitpick. I resist the concept that I wouldn't look at every frame and say, what's this frame's niche? What's this frame's niche? What's this frame's niche? Unless you have a very creative definition of what the word niche means. Because for a lot of Warframes, their niche is that they don't have one. They're a generalist, or it's very specific, but they're kind of generally sort of good. I think most frames are kind of on a spectrum between how general use are their tools and how good are their specific tools when they're good. I was saying before that I think Valkyr has no niche. If you have every Warframe and you don't like Valkyr, there is no reason to use Valkyr. There is never a reason to use Valkyr. It's the same thing with, for example, Loki. If you have every Warframe and you don't just like Loki, Loki is useless. There are not very many frames that I feel like are that way, and you could still argue it, again, for Loki. In some missions where you have AI units, very occasionally using switch teleport is good for like making the AI not bug out, but that's not good because it's good. It's good because the game is kind of broken in those situations, right? That doesn't really count for what I'm talking about. Again, finding a use for the Warframe, it's like if you hold me at gunpoint, I do this for a living and I have for 5 years. I'm sure I can find a reason to use Loki. That doesn't mean there is a good reason to use Loki. That just means like Valkyr, Loki, and I think that's kind of it. There are a lot of Warframes that they might not excite people, but they clearly have some plenty of practical uses, like Nyx. Nyx is just a solid generalist. It's lots of good general use abilities. When you pick Valkyr instead of Nyx, you're trading away wide area crowd control from Chaos and Psychic Bolt's a very good damage reducing, armor reducing ability for basically nothing. You have a good melee weapon, but every melee weapon is good. You're really tanky, but every Warframe can survive easily. You have Warcry, but one arcane can replace the effect of that attack speed. That's it. You don't really get anything, you know? I'm not saying it's bad if people like those Warframes, or that you can't like them for something. Again, when you say, I like Parker or Loki for Spy, you like it. It's not good in particular. It's not bad in particular. You can like those things. This has nothing to do with that. I'm just saying, if you ask the designers, what is supposed to be the reason for playing this Warframe, there are a few Warframes in the game where there kind of isn't one. I think, at the moment, it's admirable how many Warframes there is a reason for them. Even if you don't like them, you just have all of them. and you don't particularly like them, you will find yourself having an objective reason to play the vast majority of Warframes at some point, right? And I think that's impressive in large part. In Framework, I hope to go through all of them and show those reasons so that people who want to like a Warframe feel like they have something to do with them. But there are a few Warframes where I think even if you want to like them, there's not a lot to like if you have other options. Again, what's weird about this is that if you have a very undeveloped account, like you don't have a lot of Warframes, Valkyr shoots way up in viability or in usefulness because she can be very unkillable very easily, which doesn't matter if you have a lot of options. But if you don't have a lot of options, it starts to matter a lot, right? Same thing with Loki. Redundant when you have the other options. Other frames do the things he does, usually much better and in better ways, and also other things. But if you don't have those options, well, when you need stealth or you want stealth, you really want stealth, you know? So that's why I hope that these Warframes will get some more attention. It would be great if they did. I'm sure they will at some point. That way we can enjoy all these other frames. That's how I feel. That was kind of a roundabout way to talk about the stuff about Nyx. And with that, I have to go make dinner. But I'll finish up on questions in chat. Any spoiler on the next framework? Thank you for asking, Archammer. Let's talk about that now. Next week, there won't be a framework week. There will be... there's a video I want to make. I'll see if I can make it in time. And then the first video in the Witchcraft series is coming out. Witchcraft is my sandwich build crafting Kickstarter that you maniacs decided to fund for $1,000. Thanks, by the way. The money finally hit my account so I can pay my grocery bill. And yeah, the first of those videos will go up next Thursday. I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to making it on Tuesday, cutting it a bit close there. I've prepared a bunch, of course. We made that rib sandwich last night. That was a ride. If you have backed Witchcraft, by the way, I'm going to send you a thing on Kickstarter where you can decide the names of all of the sandwiches for the first Witchcraft video. Please fill that out because I wish I could have given it to you sooner. I will give it to you sooner next time, but we only have a few days. So please name the sandwiches. I'll notify you about that a bunch of ways. Don't worry. But yeah, I need your help with that. I will send you those as soon as possible. I'll try to do tomorrow morning at the latest. If you're a person, I know a lot of you are Witchcraft backers. Please fill those out. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. In fact, Pixel, let me make a note to send you it. Send to. So after that, Archammer, next week there will be no framework. After that, we'll be right back to it. I was looking into doing Equinox sooner. I want to do Equinox as soon as possible. I want to do Oberon, but I was kind of waiting for Call of the Tempestari because we had an idea about Sevagoth, maybe. We'll talk about that later when we get there. Equinox, Rhino, like probably we should do Rhino soon. Who else? Yeah, like Equinox, Rhino, Trinity. I was planning on doing soon. Ember was going to be up there. I'm most prepared for Equinox and Rhino, so I'm more inclined to do those sooner. Just quickly responding. Pixel, you said, I disagree that Rhino is setting out to be plain. He's more like setting out to be unilaterally effective in a simple way. When I think plain, I think occasionally press button, nothing interesting happens, timer frames, which is what Rhino is. Chroma is also like that. But Pixel, my argument is that Chroma isn't trying to be that. Chroma just happens to be that. Chroma at the moment happens to be a frame where, due to bad balancing and questionable development of what his abilities should do, not enough attention maybe. Chroma happens to be a frame where his abilities don't have much visual impact because his 1 and his 4 don't do much. But he's clearly supposed to feel like those abilities do a lot, ideally, from a design perspective. He just doesn't. Whereas Rhino is working as intended and is a frame where you occasionally press a few buttons and nothing interesting happens. I don't see how you can possibly think Rhino is not that way. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that's great. That's like, we have a Warframe that is doing that. It baffles me that you don't think Rhino is that way. I hope why I disagree makes sense. Rhino's in the mausoleum currently. What does that mean? That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Rhino's going to be a fun one because there's really not a lot to say about like a generalist Rhino build, I don't think. But then I guarantee you there's going to be something good for the memes. The brainstorming stream for that one's going to be fun. Rusty, the Genshin Impact login screen changes based on what time it is in your time zone. There's just a different one at night, yeah. And at dawn and stuff. Anyway, so I'll see you all tomorrow. If you enjoyed the stream, I stream Thursday through Monday at the moment, around this time. Schedule on my Twitch. You can click on the schedule tab. I hope that will fit well for most of you. And I guess from now on, we'll continue streaming these, but in the videos, I'll say, you know, I'm not focusing on showing you gameplay examples. I'm focusing on explaining what it would be like in gameplay rather than outright demonstrating that thing, because it is very difficult, very unreliable to demonstrate that thing. I really appreciate the talk that you all had about this with me. It helped. I felt like we accomplished something, and I learned things about all of you and myself as somebody making streams about this. So, but anyway, just to be 100% clear, this doesn't mean that we are not streaming on Saturdays anymore. We were already streaming on Saturdays before I was doing gameplay demonstration focused streams. We've just decided that maybe that doesn't entirely make that much sense. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, perhaps. Goodbye and good night. Hasta la pasta. Lol.